Hey everybody, hey, this is Frederick Jones. I'm the founder and publisher of Saturday AM, and we are now live with our very first episode of a new series we're going to try to do called Pub Talk. And we're going to see how it turns out. But the journal idea is to be able to basically have an open discussion about just some of the things going on with Saturday AM and various things from there. So we're going to try to see how it goes. We're going to discuss a number of topics, the big one being, of course, summer of manga and the number of people who are interested and curious about learning about that. So we're going to try to get into that tonight, as well as other things. So hope everyone is doing well. I can let you know right now that I am suffering from a cold. I've got a little nasty cold I picked up from the Wizard World Portland show. Recently, our team went there and had a really awesome time, but man, I got sick. And I was reading about one of the cosplay models who was near us. Evidently, she's also got a nasty cold. So it doesn't bring me joy, but it brings me some comfort knowing that I wasn't the only one who got sick after that show. Again, my name is Frederick Jones, and we are Saturday AM. So you are tuning in to us live here on a Friday night. I hope everything is well with folks. You can see here our logo there. And I'm going to switch screens here for a moment and show you what our website itself looks like. So you guys, if you don't know who we are, you will can see now that we are, pardon me, a digital manga anthology. We're the world's most diverse digital shonen manga anthology. And we feature characters and concepts and creators from all over the world. So we are extremely proud of that fact, and we work very hard to try and put forth a fantastic product. But it has been something that's been just a real work and effort on our part for the last 4.5 years. We're approaching our birthday here, coming up our 5th year coming up in November. So we are pretty stoked about just what we're doing and how we're trying to accomplish some of these things. But all in all, it's been a really great experience. And so if you love good shonen manga content, if you love Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dragon Ball or Naruto or One Piece, obviously our material is going to be different, but we are very proud of the stuff that we produce. And you can see here the quality of the artwork speaks for itself. We have artists literally from Nicaragua to Nigeria to New Zealand. We have colorful, amazingly designed characters who represent everything from action titles to science-based action, to fantasy series, to martial arts, and so on. So we're, again, really excited about what our group is trying to do, and we're just hoping to continue to grow over the next year. And we've got some really big things coming for fans of our material within the next couple of months. So we hope to have a chance to get all these things out within the next year. And of course, as I indicated, you can follow us not just on our website, but you can follow us. We're going to be at a number of conventions this year. So recently we attended the Wizard World shows, which were in Cleveland initially, and then we also attended the show in Portland, Oregon. We are next up going to be attending shows in Philly, which we're still trying to lock down some of the aspects of that, and then Chicago, and then other shows after that. So we hope to announce even more dates and more locations around the world soon. So again, if you care about diversity, if you care about new types of shonen manga ideas, you can go to our website, www.saturday-am.com, and check out our content, or you can simply subscribe. You can do that at www.saturday-am.com/subscribe. You can see here we have a number of things that we're working on, everything from our latest issues, which currently sit at issue number 84. We're working to get issue 85 out this year. I mean, not this year, sorry. That's the cold talking, folks. We're looking to get 85 out this weekend, hopefully. Likewise, we will be back around mid-May with issue 86, and we will hit issue 100 of Saturday AM before the end of the year. We have a video game coming out called Webcomic Rumble, developed in partnership with Marmot Media, so we're really excited about that. So again, we've got a lot of things happening, more things that we can actually discuss right now. So again, we will be trying to pull as much of the stuff together as possible. So what I want to do is, we're not we don't have tons of money. So, and like I said, I am sick. So I'm here in my home office trying to put forth a video just so I can talk to fans and and give some updates about some of the things that we are working on, which is something that we try to do. We try to be as transparent as possible. So I know that folks can chat in the chat window, and I'll be trying to get to some of those chats here soon. And what I'm going to probably do first is just run through a number of things that we've done, the news that we want to break this evening, and talk about Summer of Manga, which is something specific that I know people are interested in. And then once we finalize that, then what we hope to do is then go from there into some other things, such as being in a position to discuss answer your questions and things like that. So again, if you can bear with us, like I said, I'm suffering from a really nasty cold. I hate it. I hate being sick. And this definitely has waylaid me pretty good. I was not expecting to get sick like this, but there you go. If you guys have never watched any of our videos, which our videos do pretty good, certainly you probably should check them out, because again, they do pretty good. And we tend to have some really good discussions. But one thing you'll learn is that I am very blunt. I don't really, say things that I don't mean. And so one of the things that I'll start on right now is, like I said, I'm going to try to pull up here so I can see the chats, because I know sometimes we do get some folks who have a level of disrespect in them. And it's always kind of mind-blowing to me for a variety of reasons. But probably the biggest reason just is that I always find it fascinating that folks actually give a shit to have to do that. I'm older than most of the people who interact with Saturday AM, both positive and negatively, both positive age and negative age. I'm probably 20 years older than 90% of the people who will watch this chat, which will probably be hundreds of people watching this chat over the next couple of days. And it always ceases to amaze me. It never ceases to amaze me when I see people who go out of their way to attack us. I think of so many people that I dislike, or things that have been done in my lifetime that I absolutely hate. And yet I don't, maybe social media and the kind of bravery that it gives people who would not normally do those things. But, I'm going to show you guys something here I thought was pretty funny. As I was trying to put this video together tonight, and it was pretty sick, as I indicated, in doing so, I want you guys to pay attention to your screen here. You're going to see here that now this is a screen grab that I took. And so before we had even started the video, we just had someone just immediately give us a negative review here. And I just think that's funny. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't, change what we're going to do. It doesn't change who we are. But again, it's that level of hate. I find that it's kind of like racism. I find it extraordinary that someone's got that much focus on something you're doing to have to to feel the need to have to go over and try to disrupt what someone else is trying to do. Again, like I said, as a 44-year-old man, I've lived my entire life. There are lots of things that piss me off. I'm very opinionated. But the idea that I would ever try to go out of my way to disenfranchise someone else is pretty extraordinary. I just think that's funny. And so again, you guys, those of you who are true fans of Saturday AM, like I said, this video will be seen by hundreds of people over the next couple of days. Hopefully, we'll get more and more people than that. But, we do pretty well. But I just think it's hilarious that, you'll hear me talk about this frequently, because I think that, again, social media is a positive thing. At the convention this weekend, I talked a lot about this, about how nowadays, especially for younger creators, you have to be on social media. You just have to be. And the positives of that are heavy, right? The positives of that are really big. And that's that you have to go out there and you have to express yourself. Let companies like Saturday AM or Marvel or DC, you have to let them know that you're in this to win. That just creating comics is not enough, that you are every bit as focused on trying to make sure that if you create a comic book, that you want people to know about it. You're going to do everything you can to get them to know about it, because that's how the game is played today. It doesn't make it fair, it doesn't make it right, but the idea that you're just a comic artist nowadays, or you're just an actor, that you're just a politician, that you're just a singer, songwriter, those days are gone. In the world we live in today, you have to actually go out there and you have to actually promote yourself. And social media is the most economical way to do that. The negative, of course, are things like what we're talking about, where you get people who come out of their way, like someone said here in the chat. Yes, there are people who are subscribed to our channel who simply cannot wait to see us post something. And the minute we post something, they are going to be ready to try to attack us. And it reminds me of a story. And one thing I never do is I never call these people out by name. Well, I'll take that back. I'll call them out by name if I feel like sometimes you got to drag a few people because they need to learn. And I think as I've indicated, one thing that you will learn in life, one thing I'm confident will happen, because again, people my age are, find that, especially when it comes to our kids, we're getting really tired of young people who, again, they don't have the balls to say this to our faces directly, but they feel empowered on social media. And the one thing that I can tell you is going to happen in the near future, and you can thank Facebook for this, all the stuff that's happened with Facebook, you can thank them for this, and probably other people. You can thank Reddit and 4chan and all those groups. But this whole idea of being anonymous on the internet, now that we've got terrorism, we got people doxing each other, we got all this stuff happening, those days are coming to an end, folks. I hate to tell you that, but I can see it as clear as the sky is long. I can see it as much as I saw Saturday AM when I decided to start this company and walk away from other things that would be more lucrative for me. And I said, no, I believe in this. I can see it, as God is my witness, that this era of anonymous, liquid confidence sort of individuals who want to come on and try to disrupt other people, they don't have the balls to be a consumer. If you want to buy a product from someone and then dislike it and have a critical discussion with your dislike of it, that's perfectly fine. But having this sort of like idea that you're just going, oh, I don't like that, let me post a negative note there. That I think those days are coming to an end. I see so many people who attack us or attack other people who hide behind the fact that you don't know who they are. A couple of weeks ago, we did several live videos on March Madness, which was our art competition. And one of the things I found so funny about it was there was a young man, I don't know if he was from Japan or what, but he came onto the group and it was very disrespectful. Very disrespectful. This was a chat, a very successful chat, where we reviewed people who participated in our art competition, and we gave really strong reviews for these folks, and we went through every single piece of artwork, and it was really well received by both the artists and people who just wanted to see someone take the time to critique and analyze other people's artwork. We enjoyed it, people enjoyed it, and it was one of our more successful efforts. It's something, frankly, we've done for years, and people have always loved it. Someone came onto the chat, and they were asking all these really inane questions like, well, who's this guy to judge and what's going on here and why are they doing this? And it's like, if you're coming into something that's clearly not something that you knew about. I had this great line I used to talk about. They used to talk in when I was in college, and then subsequently I used to teach this to young people when I was in corporate America who would work for me. And I would say that if you are aware of, if you get involved in something, if you step into something, if you get, if your girlfriend, your parents, your best friend, a classmate tells you, hey, let's go check out this movie. And you're like, what movie? I've never heard of that movie. The first thing you need to learn about marketing is that the reason you didn't know about that movie is because they didn't care if you knew about the movie. You were not part of the marketing. What you stand for, what you look like, what you care about was no, they saw it and said, this is not what our focus is for this upcoming, for our marketing spend. We want women. We want people who are into comic books. We want people who are artists. We want people who are, between the ages of 20 and 24. Like, they had a specific map. I can promise you, in marketing, they have specific maps of what they look for. I did it for over a decade at the highest level. So when that happens, folks, and you are like, well, shit, what is this? What's going on? What is this? You may be interested in it, but you are not part of the marketing. And you can take that however you want to take it. But the first way you take it is that basically you weren't invited. So if you want to step into it and learn about it, then knock yourself out. And the way I equate it is like going to a wedding. You could, be walking down a hallway in a hotel and be like, oh, hey, what's all this cool stuff here? Oh, hey, it's a wedding. And then, next thing you know, you're kind of in the back of a wedding. You weren't invited to it. You weren't, no one knows who you are, but you're there. You kind of like what you're saying. Maybe you've never seen a Greek Orthodox wedding or a Jewish Orthodox wedding. Maybe you've never seen a black wedding or what have you. And you're looking at it, you're like, wow, this is really cool. This is really neat. I've never knew that they did weddings like this. And so you're just enjoying it as a spectator. Imagine the balls that it takes. Imagine the assholeness that you must have to then decide to just all of a sudden start talking in the wedding. Like, okay, yeah, this is kind of neat, but hey, what's going on? Why is that girl marrying her? Why is she wearing that dress? I don't understand. Why y'all having the wedding here? Imagine doing that. That is asshole city, folks. That is asshole city. You don't belong there. No one asked you to be there, but you took it. The fact the door was open that you could come in and start acting like the grade A asshole. That's what social media is like. That's what some of the people who have attacked us and who tend to feel that they have the ability to attack other people. That's what it comes across as. It's not that you don't have the right. This is something that the people who tried to come at me and then got shut down once I had to drop some knowledge on them. the thing they always struggled with or tried to play at first with was the idea that it's their right. It's my First Amendment right. I can say what I want to say. It's like, no, fool. It's not your right. Like, you don't have the right to go into a crowded movie theater to shout fire. You don't have the right to go into some place you weren't invited and project the idea that your voice is more important than the people who actually were invited. You don't have the right for that. So this cat from Japan or wherever he was from, he came on there trying to talk this crap. I immediately, boosted his ass right out of the chat. And of course, that in turn, I think he inspired this. I'm sure he was, typing away on that keyboard like he was lifting weights, something he probably doesn't do in real life. He was typing on the keyboard, saying, "Hey, y'all need to go in this chat and try to disrupt this thing." Because then we started seeing more people coming on the chat talking about what happened to that guy, and this guy is somebody special. He was nobody special. I'd never heard of him before. I've been doing this for 4 years. I've got a damn near 20-year career in the video game industry. Never heard of this guy. Not that I had to, but just the idea that somehow he was someone important. I would maybe feel differently if Barack Obama came into my chat and disrupted it. I'm not a Trump voter, and I would maybe feel a little different if Trump came into my thing and disrupted, like, oh, ain't that weird? Trump came in here and was talking shit. But the idea that someone who has no following, has no clout, just as he's just one of several young people who want to get together on the internet and talk about art or talk about how awesome they are, talk about their wannabe comic book and so forth. That person came onto our chat and was going to disrupt the moment that other artists who were in March Madness had spent weeks working towards. I just thought that was the most disrespectful thing. And so that was an area where we saw this guy. He then, he did get some of his people. And so they sent a little army over to us and gave several dislikes of that video. And the part I thought was so funny was that they disappeared as fast as you could say. They disappeared as fast as you could say flash. They just were gone. And the reason was really simple because we got a huge following. We've been doing this for 4 years. We got a huge ass following. Imagine if we behaved the way that those people behave. Imagine if I took the Saturday AM army and said, hey, here's someone who's disrespectful. Go after them. Go after them. Hit them up. Target them every single day. Hit their social media, hit their Twitter, hit their Tumblr. Hit them all, hit it everywhere. Make them regret that shit. Imagine doing that. Social media, folks, it's a necessary evil. There is no question it's a necessary evil. But at the same time, though, there's no question that behavior like that, number one, is coming to an end. I can tell you right now, it's coming to an end. I've talked to too many parents, too many people my age who see, their kid could post something on social media and some asshole decides he just wants to have a laugh because his life sucks. He wants to have a laugh and he's going to come on and try to disrespect a young child or someone who's trying to do something legitimate. He can't be bothered, or she can't be bothered. Typically it's he, folks. Can't be bothered to do their own thing and have success at it, but they're going to try to rip somebody else apart. So I'm going to start this episode off really simply saying stuff like this is childish, it's cheeseball, and I'm never going to stop calling it out. Because in the same way that I care about making sure that we bring more people into diverse manga creation, that we see more voices coming from around the world trying to do new things and offer new ideas, the more that we see stuff like that, then, only good can come from that. I want to see more voices. I don't care if your voice is gay, straight, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist. If you come from Norway, if you come from Zimbabwe, I don't care. I want to see new, cool ideas. And I'm confident that everyone's got great ideas to tell. So at the end of the day, like I said, I'm going to always call this out because I find it to be just silly, just silly. And I don't know who Mr. Ramirez is, but I see that he's trying desperately to get attention for himself right now. Ms. Ramirez, if you apologize, and I appreciate your apologies, you don't need to mention my name. You can step back and just enjoy the video. So with that being said, folks, again, I would implore everybody to, work hard, try to stay focused on doing the right thing. And just, the life is funny. Life will come at you sometimes when you're not expecting it. And people who are the cockiest will get put down quickly when they don't expect it. So try to enjoy your life. Try to be positive. Try to focus on the things that make us better. which is support and love for each other, and trying to tell stories and ideas that excite us, that excite the kid in us. That's all any of us are trying to do. That's all any of us should be trying to do. So, so we'll go from that then. But I hope that that dropped a little knowledge there. And let's see here. So next up, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to run through. So we got some more things try to address here. We've got Summer of Manga, which we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about Wizard World and the things that we enjoy with Wizard World, and we're going to try to get into some stuff with some of the stuff with March Madness that we failed to talk about because we had the show that came up, and then I got sick, and so we had a bunch of other things that kind of happened there. We're going to try to address all of these things and just get right into it. So I hope everybody's doing well. We're going to jump into it. If you guys have questions, as you know, don't at all hesitate to drop a note, and I see the chats there, so we'll go through it from there. So let's see here. And again, I apologize. It's ghetto. I know it's very ghetto the way that my little thing is set up here. It's the easiest way I can think of to do that. We've got some sponsors. We'll be talking about our sponsors here shortly, but we're going to try to drop that in here. So let me see. Give me a second here, and we will get going here. I saw some of the great notes from people, PTK, and I see my friend Aldurante is there, so I'm really excited about that. And let's see here. So I'm going to bring that chat back here in just a moment. Let me see here. I'm trying to get everything up and running here. You guys hear my dog? Like I said, you hear my dog. So let's see here. All right. So, of course, I had to drop David Ramirez's ass straight up out of there with a straight up 1 subscriber on his channel. David was trying desperately to get some attention, but David's attention is out. So we're going to send David on, let David chill out somewhere else. Let's see here. Goodbye, David. All right. And there you go, folks. Again, a one person subscriber. David looks like a man child, as best I can describe David. And that's probably me being kind, but David is desperate to get some attention. So we're going to give David some attention. We're going to send him on. David, I hope if you watch this video later, I don't know, man. I don't even know what to tell you, David. You need to check yourself. I swear, David, I wish, for once, I do wish I could check out people's notes and see that they actually I can at least look and say, man, that guy's a good artist, but no. That's not even the case in this case. All right. So we're about to drop some new stuff here. Let's first talk about Wizard World Portland, because this was a really fun show, and I'm really excited about these shows that we're going to. I'm really excited about just attending some of these shows. Whoops, Portland. Crap. I got to turn that down. Let me see here. I'm trying desperately to get this going. There we go. All right. We're going to share that. I hope you guys can all see it. This is what I'm talking about, how ridiculous this is. I have to try to position these things in a way that makes it work for everybody. There we go. All right. So we were at this show, Wizard World Portland, and we attended Wizard World Cleveland before that. Now, let me give a few things about why we attended Wizard World. Wizard World is a group that, they have a unique sort of setup. They are, they have 2 of the biggest conventions in the United States. The Chicago and Philly shows are really big. But I think, more than anything, I think the thing that kind of just, means something to us ultimately is that they go places where conventions don't always go. and they bring a lot of celebrities. And so those two things combined mean that we're talking to the sort of consumers that are maybe, like really for getting into stuff for the first time, or they have a fandom for this stuff, but they really don't get a chance to exercise it much. And so for us to be there and to let them know that we care, that we're who we are, what we're about, and that we're serious about trying to put our stuff out there for them, that we're creating this content for them, I think is really important. I think it says a lot about us. And the best way to look at it is that, a lot of big comic companies, see, they don't go to small shows. They just go to the big shows. They leave the small shows for independent artists like Artist Alley and stuff like that. And, we're not big enough to do that, number one. And number two, I don't want to do that. I want Saturday AM where we can to go out and meet people, meet parents, meet kids, and really show them that our characters are their characters, and that our creators are serious about meeting and helping to bring new creativity in from people who maybe have an interest in art for the very first time. So when we go to these shows, if you guys have never been, we have a host of things that we do. We do a lot of panels. We do a panel on diversity. We talk about things like what I talked about at the start of the video with about social media and how to pitch your stuff and how to deal with haters and ignorant people like David. We try to really give new creators a sense of inspiration and hope as the sort of things they have to do. So we try to stay focused on that and not really sweat the small stuff on that end. We bring a number of items that are exclusive. So there are some things that, frankly, we're going to put on the website eventually. Like we did a couple of T-shirts that were exclusive. We had a really cool T-shirt for Saturday, and the old Marvel Comics images where you see like the little box in the corner and have like all the faces of the characters in that issue. We did something like that with brand new artwork from White Manga and Morgan Walker and Jay Oden and people like that. So Andrea Voros and Raymond Brown. So we did had a T-shirt like that. We have a couple of logo T-shirts. We had some really awesome prints. So we try to just do as much as possible to interact with our fans at those things. It's a really good time. So if you get a chance, the next show that we're really seriously trying to go to is Philadelphia. That's next month. If any of you guys are on the East Coast, you might be going to check that out. It'll be potentially myself and potentially White Manga, potentially Jay Oden, potentially Raymond Brown, David Yoon, Jamie Molina, and a handful of other people who are all on the East Coast. So that could be one of our bigger shows that we've done to date in terms of number of people. We have a really big, impressive booth. We have some amazing prints with original artwork you guys can check out. We have these cool postcards you can see here. And as I'll show you here, we just have fun. We really have a lot of fun. And let's see here if I can kind of go through some of these pics here. You can see that's me in the middle. That's the shirt I was telling you about with all the characters' faces on it. And you can see Stephen Alcade, who's one of our staff writers there on the left. He's got the Comet Man shirt on. You can see Jay Oden, who's a really great artist. If you guys get a chance, check out Jay Oden. Jay is, I was telling some folks the other day that Jay is one of the guys that, to me, he's one of the reasons I started Saturday AM. Now this is going to come out rude, and please don't take it that way, Jay or anybody else. But I'm not, I was not the most popular kid in school. I was not, the sexiest person. I wasn't the biggest athlete, even though I'm a big fan of sports. I wasn't any of those things. I was into comic books and stuff before it was cool. So, I was a nerd. I was a geek, and I don't want Saturday AM to be the home of the cool people. I mean, even though I'm sure, we have some people in our group who are very cool, but this is who we are. I want our folks to feel comfortable, and I hope that if we can feel comfortable and be aggressive about how comfortable we feel with each other, then that will extend itself to the fans who are discovering our stuff now. And let's face facts. A lot of you guys who are younger, you guys feel no pressure, right? Like there's zero pressure you feel by being a comic book fan. You may feel pressure from wanting to be a comic book artist or creator or get a job in the industry. Your parents probably still are saying, no, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer. But in terms of being a fan, like there's hardly any negativity associated with that today, because the reality is that, there's the movies, the biggest movies in the world are these type of movies, and and the coolest content being created are coming from anime and manga and superhero comic books and things like that. So, from that standpoint, I think that we want to try and explore that quite a bit. And so Jay is someone I really like because he's young. Jay's got a quirky personality. He loves to sing. Jay's upfront about the face. Like, hey, I'm geeky. I'm into this stuff, and he gets really excited about stuff. And I just really liked him. I thought Jay was such a wonderful person and really fit our group well. I think he's kind of like the prototype of what our group's all about. We have lots of devices that have the Saturday M magazine on it. So if you're someone who's like, man, I've heard about Saturday M, but I don't know what it's like, then you can check it out. You can see it on iPads, on Surface tablets. Someone had it on a Kindle. I mean, we make it available in lots of ways so you can see what it's actually like. There's a picture of Jay Oden again. He's got a picture of Sano with the these guys wearing an apple black shirt. And then last but not least, I think we got another picture here. Yeah, and then there's Morgan Walker. And I love Morgan. Morgan's a real sweetheart. I mean, we've been very blessed to have great women in our group. Where most companies have struggled to get female creators, we haven't. And that being said, we don't have as many as I'd like. But the female creators we all have are great. They're just so great. And Morgan is someone that I'm such a fan of hers. She's such a really beautiful personality, and she's such an even keel person. And as you guys can see, I'm under the weather, and we had a lot of issues trying to get to this convention, and because I have to do all that stuff, folks. The logistics is not fun, but but having people like Morgan and Andrea Voros and stuff like that just really. It's a luxury that I'm sure we don't deserve, but we've been really fortunate to have it. I hope we get more female creators in, and so a really great person. And then Stephen Alcade, I really enjoy Stephen. Stephen's he's a fun guy. He's being a staff writer for us, so he's writing some great articles, and he's getting better and better at it. And so I'm really hoping that Stephen, can really enjoy the sort of opportunities that this will provide, and can really take it to the next level. I'm really hopeful of that. So let's see. I think we got a little video here. Yep. This is the prints here. I'm gonna see if this plays. So let's see if this works, folks. All right. It doesn't matter if there's any audio or not, but let's see if it actually works. So there we go. I'm gonna see if this goes here. It's working. There we go. All right. So that first print was white. That's from issue number 50. And then we have another print from white. That's from Apple Black. We have Saigami print. That's really nice. We have Clock Striker by Michelle Massarello. Beautiful. That one's by Rexy. Group shot from characters will be coming up soon. Bull Eater cover, which is by Raymond Brown. Mass Multiplayer of the Ghost. Awesome by Oscar Fong. We have a great Soul Beat from another cover by Morgan. That's Crunch Time by Dan Talarchevek. We have Titan King, which is a brand new print from Tony Dawkins. Mutton Chop by Anthony Jackson and Bharat Lujani. That's from Leo and Massip and David Yoon for Spoon. That's Frederick Ward doing a great piece. Jay Oden with a cool hammer print. Another cool print of Soul Beat there from Morgan Walker. Another cool kind of old school print there from Frederick Ward. Great print there by Jay Oden of all our characters. And that's it. Man, I was flying through that damn thing. But that's some of the stuff that you see. And again, so we're going to be doing even more stuff. We got some ideas for more prints and things like that. So you'll see even more stuff coming from the convention. But again, if you get a chance, folks, you want to go to the convention. I see that Morgan posted the code there. If you go to Wizard World, you can go in there, type in Wizard World, go to wizardworld.com. Look at an upcoming show. If we're going to be there, you'll find it. First of all, it'll be announced in our magazine. It'll be announced on our website. And then, if you go to it, you can put in the offer code Saturday, and you can save 20% off the ticket price. So that's a great way for you to have a chance to check out the stuff that we're doing. And that's, really cool from that standpoint. So let's see. So that is, that's most of the show. We got some questions about the convention and stuff like that, I think. So I'll try to answer those, and then we can get to Summer of Manga. So if you got a question about Summer of Manga, we'll get to that later. But as far as the convention goes, that is that. Let me see here. Is there anything else here? Nope. All right. So we'll go back to the Saturday M Foot. All right. Let me see if I can answer some of these questions here. Okay. I apologize again, folks. This cold sucks. This cold really, really, really sucks. Okay. White hair artist asks, "Are we going to a convention in Texas?" So, white hair artist, I actually lived in Texas, in Dallas, for a number of years. My video game career actually started in and was at its height in Texas. So, I have a lot of fond memories of Texas. I would love to go to Texas. As of right now, we don't have any plans to go. There's a show coming in Austin, I think, from Wizard World, and we certainly are considering it. But as of right now, again, one of the challenges we have is we got the video game coming. That's going to take a lot of effort on our part. We've got some other announcements we'll be making. It's going to take a lot of effort. We've got issue 100, which is a big deal. We got more Saturday PM coming, which we'll talk about shortly. So we have so much stuff happening that it's really difficult for us to attend these shows. When we attend these shows, folks, it's a butt kicker. It is a real butt kicker when we go to these shows. So we're trying to, like I said, I got back from the show and I was going to jump right back into Saturday AM stuff. I got sick literally like the day after I got home. I felt sick on the plane coming home, but then like it just really hit me the day after I got home, and it hasn't let up since. And so, I don't know. Like right now, like my throat is on fire. I'm like, God, no, I can't believe how bad my throat feels. So I don't know about Texas, but if there's a chance, we'll certainly try. Let's see. Dylan Kiefer says, did the light novel lineup end up not being done? I remember folks talking about expanding into that realm. Yeah, so obviously, again, we publish Saturday AM, as you guys can see here. We have Saturday PM, which you guys will now see on your screen. And the fact of the matter is that we have a light novel line called Well Read, and we really wanted to get behind that and make it something significant. And it was just really tough. It was really, really difficult. And so we tried to kind of get it up and going, but it was really tough. So what I can say is that there's a good chance that we will try to get something going. There's a really good chance that we'll try to make some stuff happen with it. But as of right now, at least, it looks doubtful, to say the least. It looks really, really doubtful. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping that we can pull something together with it soon. Let's see. T Miss says, when someone gets published for Saturday AM, is the work edited by someone who works for Saturday AM, was edited by the person getting published? No, we edit the stuff when it comes in. Now, editing kind of works in two different levels. So one of the things, that one of the things I think is a challenge, and I think it's one of the things our competitors have faced, and something that they probably didn't want to face, was that, look, as we saw with David Ramirez earlier, a lot of young creators are immature at best, and it's really tough. And not just that, but a lot of them don't want to hear that. And I'm actually struck by how many companies like Saturday AM or bigger don't actually call this out. Like, I find that extraordinary. Going back to Dylan Kiefer for a second, we did a panel, and the panel was how to pitch something. We had a guy from Hollywood. It was me, a guy from Hollywood, and a guy who was a novelist. So the three of us kind of compared notes for the audience. It was a really nice sized crowd, and we talked about it. I don't know if we got it on video, but it was a really good chat. And I was struck by, I continue to be struck by people's reluctance to call out why, in the world we live in today, why it's actually harder to get published and have a career at creativity, despite the fact that all the technology involved should make it easier. I talk about it. Maybe people don't think about it. Like, I know when I said what I've said to you guys who've watched these videos in the past, when I brought it up in the show, like, people were just like, oh man, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm thinking, like, no, it's just common sense. Like, it is so much harder to make comics in my era. Try making a comic book or a novel or anything like that in the 70s and 80s, folks. It was impossible. It was really tough. You had to really power through. You had to put money into stuff. You don't have to put money into it today. You had to put money into it back then. You had to get professionals, whether it's a printer or whoever, to take a chance on you and give you a low print run rate. So, which means you probably had to have a job or independently wealthy parents or something like that. And then to get into a bookstore or to get it seen by anybody, once again, you had to pay a lot of money for that. And so, yeah, just really amazed at how people just don't talk about it. Because again, I think part of the challenge with it, I think, is that the same way we talked about the internet giving people, like this David, this kind of liquid courage that they would never have in person. I think it flip side is that it causes people to have this mentality that, oh, well, if I just, put my stuff out there, it'll be, that's all I have to do. And it's like, no, that's actually the least you have to do. And so, when it comes to editing, for example, that's something that we provide, but that's why we don't publish everybody's work. That's why we don't, just because you think you have a great idea doesn't mean we're going to publish your work, because, we have to be engaged with the material, and we have to believe the creator is level-headed enough to take critique. So many times, you talk to young creators and it's like, they don't want to, they've got all the answers. They don't want to hear anything that comes from people who have actual experience. And that's what leads to some of this behavior we see, like on these chats and stuff, is this idea that, like, you can't tell me anything. I can do what I want to do. And it's like, they pay no consequences. It doesn't cost them anything. I mean, imagine if you had to chat in a forum like this, you had to actually pay $5 a month. Imagine if you had to do that. I'm going to talk separate from your internet bill. I bet you talk less shit then. If you paid it, then you'd be far more interested in what someone had to say, good or bad, because you're making the investment in yourself. So, we do editorial, and we don't try to tell someone. I mean, look, we're very blunt. I mean, we'll tell, as you guys can tell by now, we'll tell you up front. We'll say, look, you really got to change your story a little bit. And let me give an example of what that means. So, we had, I'll give you two examples. Frequently when we have submission periods, without fail, we get people who send us stuff, and it's basically Naruto or Dragon Ball. I mean, this is frequent, folks. Like, I can't even. God knows if I could make money off of this, I would desperately try to make money off of this. So, just right off the bat, if someone was paying money for this, that'd be one thing, but no one's paying money for us to talk about this stuff. So, Dragon Ball, Naruto, like it's like obvious. It's super obvious. When I was a kid, by the way, this is nothing new, because when I was a kid, I can't tell you how many, including myself, by the way, I can't tell you how many comic books I tried to do, or that friends tried to do, that was basically Batman or X-Men clones. So this is nothing new, but we get so many of these pictures. So a lot of times, we'll say, hey, look, this is too Dragon Ball, this is too Naruto. Can you please change this? Can you please change that? And kind of like I was saying earlier, again, like I was saying about even I mentioned this young man's name all the time, but stop mentioning his name. But the young man from earlier who we booted out of the group, like I said, it'd be one thing if someone was acting a fool and had the talent level of White Manga or Jay Oden or Jim Lee or, Akira Toriyama. Like, if someone drew like that and was in this group talking crap and acting like a fool, you might pay attention. But when that's not what that person's talent level is, then, you see someone behaving in a way that demonstrates a level of rank immaturity and unprofessionalism, then you're already checked out. As a publisher, as someone in marketing, as an editor, you are already checked out. You have zero interest in trying to help with that person. Now, the flip side is when we see scenarios where the creator is clearly talented and they've got an idea that really has some weight to it. And so at that point, what we really, and that's what the relationship, obviously, that we want. And so therefore, at that point, what editorial is meant to do is not direct. It's meant to serve as a devil's advocate. So it's meant to say, so for example, we had a young lady from Nicaragua she's a fantastic artist. She is unbelievable. You guys see her stuff, you're gonna just go like, oh crap, like she's awesome. She has a concept that's pretty cool. You know, it's not like groundbreaking, but it's pretty cool. We were really excited about it. That being said, she wanted to set it in Japan, and we were like, why do you want to set it in Japan? And she's like, well, you know, just, you know, I like manga, this, that, and the other. And we're like, but you don't know anything about Japan. You've never been to Japan. You're just wanting this because you think that manga has to be Japanese in some way. And the thing that kills me with that is even the Japanese don't think that. I'm always amazed by that. Even the Japanese don't think that. If that's the case, Full Metal Alchemist wouldn't be Full Metal Alchemist. Attack on Titan wouldn't be Attack on Titan. You know, I've got my beef as at least videos clearly show, as my panels at Wizard World and other places clearly show. I have my beef with how the Japanese treat people who look like me. But under no circumstances, the Japanese have a love affair with the Japanese culture. They seem pretty open to European culture. So I said to her, I said, you know, well, so why are you trying to base this in Japan when you don't know anything about Japan? Like what? Like I said, I asked her, I said, what is it in the story that requires Japan? And so, we went through the process. She kept bouncing around ideas, and I said, well, as someone who's been to Japan, that's not true. I can tell you explicitly, this part that you just said is not true. There's nothing about Japan that fits this part of the story that you're talking about. So after we did that for a little bit, I said to her, why don't you set this in Nicaragua? And this is where the devil's advocate played in. She then proceeded to tell me about some things in Nicaraguan culture. And I proceeded to tell her how that actually could be interesting from the standpoint of her story. I then proceeded to tell her, as someone who has never been to Nicaragua, how I think that there's some things there. And I did some research and came back to her with the stuff. I said, based on what I'm reading about Nicaragua, I see a lot of things here would be kind of interesting because I've never seen it before. Imagine how interesting it would be if you set the story here, or if you had this locale in play, or if you utilize this cuisine. That's a Nicaraguan delicacy. So in that process, she got really excited, and she began to really start to revamp her story in that mode. I didn't tell her she had to do it. What I did was offer her alternative points of view. And I allowed her own massive creativity to take her down a pathway that inspired her even more creatively. This is what our editing looks like. There are some things that we'll put our foot down about. If you've got something we think is disrespectful or racist, rude, prejudiced, bigoted, we're going to put our foot down about it. If you've got something that's derivative of another property, we're going to put our foot down about it. If you have a character design that literally looks like someone else's character, whether it's from manga, whether it's from one of our series, we've seen it before, folks. I can't tell you how many plots we've gotten and stories we've gotten that feature characters who literally look like Apple Black or Final Fantasy. We will put our foot down. If you have a name that's ridiculous, my series, my series is called Dragon Ball Mega. That's just fucking ridiculous. We're gonna say you change the name or you're out. So editorial for us is something we take very seriously, but we take it seriously from the standpoint of serving. The way I try to describe our editorial, it's like the bumper rails on a bowling ball. So when you go into bowling and you're bowling down a lane, it's like it should be the idea that when you roll the ball, you're in a position, the ball's bouncing. The ball is bouncing off of the edges. It doesn't go too far one way or the other way. There's some guardrails that just allow it to kind of bounce back and stay in the center where it can have the most impact. And that's what we try to do. That's what we're hoping that we can do. We're not there to try to create your story for you, because that would be wrong. So that's the general idea of how our editorial works. So again, I don't want to get to some of our manga just yet. We'll get to that in a second. But let's see. White Hair Artist says, will the prints that you display be able to be purchased on the site? Yes. So we're going to have the prints from the site. From the show that we just were at. We're going to have those on the website here, I hope in the next week. and or possibly 2 weeks, because I'm actually waiting on some of those prints to come back to us. They were shipped via FedEx, and so waiting for those to come back. But yeah, then we'll send those out, and we'll have some cool stuff attached to it, so that even if you weren't at the show, you're buying the print and you're getting an experience that's kind of similar to the show. So really excited about it, and just stay tuned for the website. If you subscribe to the magazine, pardon me, you subscribe to the magazine, you'll see it. If you come to the website frequently, you'll see it. If you follow us on social media, you'll see when this happens, and you'll be able to take advantage of it. All right, folks. So that is that for right now. And what I want to do right now is I want to talk about some sponsors that we have, and then we'll get to some other cool convo here. Are you guys, since I can see the chats here, please tell me if some of you guys are digital. How many of you guys are digital artists? Some of you guys are using digital to create your comic book art. Anybody? Are you guys all traditional? You create your comic book pages? Thank you, folks. I love John Mendoza, but John Mendoza, when I'm asking that question, the first comment I see from you is that I know the first common writer loves the Black Panther film. No, I didn't know that, and that's not my question. But thank you, John, and that is interesting to know. The first common writer loves the Black Panther film. That's great. So great. So a lot of you guys are digital. Let me tell you why I think digital is important. And yeah, I see Dylan. I see your thing there. And Dylan, there's actually a cool part here for you with Comic Draw, but let me talk about that in a second. So here's why I'm a big fan of digital. Let's take out the equation first of all about Comic Draw. So let's take this little brand that you see. Just put it out of your mind for a second. Why am I big on digital? Any digital. Obviously, Comic Draw is my favorite digital. We'll talk about that in a minute. The reason is simple, folks. The way I talked about social media at the beginning of this chat is true for digital comics. Meaning that anyone thinking that just because you can draw a comic book that you've done all the work and that you've got a career coming to you and stuff, you're fooling yourself. That's not true. That's not true. So if you are going to try to have a career or pursue a career in the modern comic book industry of any stripes, whether it's LGBT comics or web comics or traditional comic books or print comics or little ash zines, that they used to do, if you intend to do any of that, digital is expected. Why? Because number one, Marvel no longer is going to pay you money to send them flats of their comic. Now they'll pay it for big artists, but if you're a small artist, if you're getting your first chance doing it, and again, look, I'm sure someone who works at Marvel is going to see this video and go, hey, he doesn't know that. I don't know it. I'm just telling you what I'm pretty sure is the case, because I know as a company that's small, I know how we feel about it. If White wanted to send me traditional, images of his and some of our other artists, I would still be against it, because the cost involved, the chances of it getting disrupted or stolen or lost are too high. We live in an instant world. If I've got to get a comic book out, which we have a digital magazine that comes out every 2 weeks, then I need that stuff right now. If you don't have digital technology powering how you create your content, the other problem then affects it in two other ways. The first way is professionalism. You are trying to get to the level of a White Manga, a Jim Lee, so on and so forth. Something I see all the time are artists who are really good, but then who handwrite the speech bubbles, the little bubbles where the character's talking. And it looks horrible. There is nothing worse than seeing an artist who's really good have a page that's really bad because they chose to handwrite the speech bubbles, the communications of the characters. There's nothing worse than that, folks. Nothing. It's embarrassing. The second problem is when the artist then decides to send their work in, and they're going to do it via a scanner, which is the only way you can do it. If you don't have digital, but you know the company needs it quickly or wants it digitally, then you got to scan it. And all sorts of problems come when people who are not familiar with the scanner try to scan. Whether it's resolution, whether it's orientation, whether it's capturing the full setup of the page. Lots of things can affect getting that image digitally. Of course, what is a complete and utter no-no is using your phone to take a picture of a page. A big Bristol board sheet of paper drawn traditional comic book style, and you're going to try to take a picture of it on your phone. That's just not kosher. So my thing, of course, yeah, draw digitally. If you draw native digitally, then that means you've already created the work. It means you've got layers that you can go into and change the work quickly. Imagine if there's a mistake, you've got to go back and redraw it. Then it means we then got to turn around and send the image back to you so you can fix it. Not the case with digital. You can fix it right there. If you're like Dylan Kiefer and you're a writer, a program like Comic Draw allows you to actually import a full script. And you can do the lettering, professional grade lettering with lots of different options right there in the app. And why is that important? Why do I think that's crucial for someone like Dylan Kiefer? And the answer is simple. When I was Dylan's age and younger, to get an artist to draw my ideas out meant that I had to pay them somehow. Maybe I'm paying them in pizza, cash, an IOU, something. But you had to do something. And don't get, we can talk about this at a later date, of course. There's so much conversation from that one thing there. Is I'm sure Dylan could tell you. There's a whole aspect as well of then hiring someone and then that person then screws you over and doesn't complete the job. I'm sure Dylan's got stories like that. But if you're a writer, perhaps you can't pay a lot of money. Perhaps you can't pay money. But let me tell you what will always work is when you share the workload. When you say to the artist, hey, look, here's the deal. I got this great concept. And if they like the concept, they're going to go, yeah, that's a really cool idea. And I'm a writer. I've written books. And if you've got some books that you've written, you can send it to the artist and say, hey, look, here's some books I've written. See, you can see I'm serious. I'm not just a fanboy who has ideas. I've written novels. I'm sending you the books. You can read them for yourself. You can go to Amazon or wherever and look at my books being sold right now. Whether or not I'm selling 1 copy, 0 copies, or 100,000 copies, you can see that I'm serious about this. As a writer, you need to sell yourself. But the one thing that will always be something that will matter for you as a writer is when you let the artist know, I am in this with you. I don't have my feet propped up on the back porch while you're over there trying to draw a complicated building and scenes of characters, this and the other. I'm here waiting for your artwork to come in. As soon as you got a page done, you send it to me. I'm going to letter the comic for you. So you haven't got to letter it. I'm going to letter it for you, for us. I'm going to take the work off of your plate. If you do that, then number one, you need to have a really good lettering tool. And then number two, you let the artist know that you're serious, that you don't have a fat head about who you are, that you know what your role is in this team. And again, with Comic Draw, you can import a full script, speech, so like, Bob says, watch out. And then the other character says, oh no. And then we see an explosion. It goes kaboom. You can literally import it. It kicks out this proprietary format in the app. And then you can take your Apple Pencil and you can select where Bob says, oh no, or Bob says, watch out. And it then will create a speech bubble. and you can then change the speech bubble to be like a speech bubble where someone's shouting. You can change it to be a speech bubble where someone is where they're whispering. You can make it be all sorts of stuff there. Change the fonts, change where the speech, change how the line gets to the person's face, place it on the page, move it anywhere you want. The kaboom, you can create that. It comes up as a big piece of artwork. You can change the font. You can change the way the artwork looks. You can make it fat. You can make it skinny. You can make it big. Comic Draw is the truth, folks. I love it. If you're a young creator and you're out here trying to spend hundreds of dollars on pencils and inks and Copic markers and Prisma markers and things like that, and you got a chance to do all of that in this one app, including putting the script in, lettering it, inking it, using each one of the pencils you want to use. You want to go for a charcoal effect or whatever. Then yeah, I'm all about Comic Draw. I'm about getting new. Let me tell you something. You can't believe in getting new creators, getting diverse new voices if you're telling them to spend money they don't have. It's easy for me to say, yeah, we need more voices. We need more young black women. We need more Indian women. We need more Chinese women. We need more, Korean women. If you got to do all of that, and you're not prepared to help them pay the hundreds of dollars they got to pay for that stuff, then all you're doing is basically using them. So we discovered Comic Draw some time ago. We have loved the relationship. I use the app. Some of our creators have used the app. White Manga has endorsed the app. I can't speak highly enough about this application, folks. If you've got an iPad, and yes, I'm going to say it right now. If you don't have an iPad, go get an iPad. Go get an iPad. There's nothing smooth about not having an iPad nowadays. There's nothing smooth about it. The iPad is one of the most powerful devices on the marketplace, and now they've dropped the price for the iPad low model edition to $329. You got no excuse. And half of y'all watching this, and half of y'all who are still fans of ours are super young. I'm in my 40s. Trust me, I see the data. Most of y'all are like in your freaking teens or early 20s. Get a student discount. Go get that damn iPad for less than $300. You got to buy the Apple Pencil. You got to get a little keyboard, but you can have it. You can roll with it. The app itself is $9.95. And our guys have a direct line of communication. I'm talking to the CEO. I hope this weekend. I wasn't able to talk to him earlier because I got sick, but Robert and I talk rather frequently. And I got to tell you again, Comic Draw is the truth, folks. $9.95, and they don't charge you any upgrade fees. They update the app regularly. Our guys give them advice on how to update the app, and we are bullish about this. So if you're trying to save money, if you want to create something that's going to look really quality, and this image you see here of all of our core characters from Saturday AM, White Manga did it. He did it all in the app. You can see the video on his YouTube channel. He did it all in the app, and folks, he did it from start to finish in Comic Draw. Looks pretty damn good to me. So there you go. Now, I see a couple of comments here. We're gonna move on. We'll get to some other sponsors here in a minute. We're gonna move on and talk about some movie trailers and stuff, and we'll do Summer of Manga at the very end. I'm gonna try to fly through this. I doubt I'll get it done in 15 minutes, Boniface. So you can always come back and watch the video later. It'll collect the whole thing. You can watch it later. So no worries there, homie. No worries. And Dylan, yes, it is on the iPad. They I saw you. I don't know why you retracted your message. People ask it all the time. There's no issue. They know it. But look, at the end of the day, it's really tough to make this stuff work. Yeah, I'm working on that cold, Boniface. I'm working on it. We'll see. I hope it's good. I hope I get it over this damn thing. I'm getting older, so you're getting older when you got a cold and the shit won't go away. I'm thinking to myself, when I used to be younger, I could just I could go outside and play in the cold with the cold and be good to go. And now you're getting older, it's like, damn, man, I can't shake this damn thing. So yep, but I hope they do well. Thank you, Boniface, for the kind words. So Dylan, I hope that answers your question. I hope that answers everybody's questions. Comic Draw, folks. This app is amazing. Try it. Check it out. It's worth the time. Believe me. All right. So next up, we're going to talk about some movies. Did everybody here see the Deadpool trailer? Remember, I can see your chats here. Everybody see the Deadpool trailer? I must say, I remember when we were in New York City for Anime NYC, White Manga and I got into a very long discussion about Deadpool and Thor Ragnarok and all these various things. And I got to tell you, man, I do not like Deadpool. I'm not a massive Rob Liefeld fan, even though I grew, obviously I followed him in the '90s. I had the first appearances of Deadpool and Cable and all those comics from New Mutants. I was a huge X-Men fan. But I can't tell you I was a massive fan of Deadpool. But I got to tell you right now, this trailer looks amazing. I am so excited for this movie. I didn't the first movie I saw it, I was like, it was okay. But I got to tell you, this trailer, that ending. I mean, first of all, there's there was a lot of cool imagery in it, cool scenes. I love Domino. I'm so glad they made her a character of African descent. Not that they had to, but it just brings something different to it. Like there's just something about her presence and the fact that she refused to cut her hair. So she's got this wild afro. Like there's something about it that just strikes me as being so perfectly cool and just really neat and gives a whole new dimension to that character that I'm really excited about that. I could care less about Terry Crews and his Bedlam character. I don't know who that character is, but he didn't. I mean, I don't know. I like Terry Crews on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I can't say I would care about him in this movie. But we'll get to Bleach in a minute. But I did very much like. Man, there we go. I did like just seeing the various characters there. I love Shatterstar and some of those things. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. But that last shot, that last scene of the character Bob, man, that Peter, man, that thing. Every time I see it, I'm just like it just makes me so giddy with excitement. I just find that so freaking funny. I cannot wait to see the film. I don't know what role that character has. That character could die when he jumps out of that plane, but that is so damn just such a clever gag, and they execute it so well. They picked the perfect guy, and he's just got that kind of schlub look to himself and everything. And I'm not a fan of Deadpool, but I cannot wait to see this movie. I'm so stoked for this, and the fact that it comes out right after Avengers: Infinity War, it's like, holy crap, man! Can we get better than that? Can we get better than that? That's so freaking cool. So yes, and I love Josh Brolin. I think he did a great job. He looks fantastic as Cable. Again, Zazie Beetz as Domino looks fantastic. So really, really stoked about it. But my personal favorite character, even though Ryan Reynolds, I find Ryan Reynolds so more annoying. God, I find him so annoying. But damn it, he's good as Deadpool. Damn it, he's good as Deadpool. But without question, my favorite character coming up is Peter here. I don't know what the hell's going to happen to Peter, but that shot of Peter flying through the air is comedy gold. Comedy gold. I just cannot. Just the look on his face, the fact that he's staying, like the fact that his body is like completely solid, like he's not moving or anything. That's just like man. God knows that is comedy gold. I'm tempted to want to say that he's Peter Rasputin. Maybe he's going undercover. Colossus. Maybe this is his human form. He's going undercover because there's just something about the way he looks is so over the top. But I don't know. But Peter's Russian, and I'm sure he's got the accents. I don't know. But anyways, kind of interesting. So let's see here. We're gonna talk about Bleach. Too blind to you. We're gonna talk about Bleach. Don't worry, I'm not a massive Bleach fan either, so we'll talk about it. But first, I got to go to my homegirl Morgan Walker, who says, "Remember, according to the comics, Deadpool is a mix of Ryan Reynolds and a Sharpay." Nice. Yes. I'm looking forward to Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool. So the new Bleach trailer's out, and I don't know. So Too Blind to You. What did you think of this? What did you think? You said no more Bleach. So what did you think of it, man? Did you not like it? Anybody else? Anybody else have thoughts on Bleach? Well, I'll just kick it off and say, look, I'm not a massive Bleach fan. I think Naruto is probably one of my favorite. Well, it's not. I don't think. I mean, Naruto's hands down my favorite. My favorite manga. Just a huge fan of Naruto. Yes, I think the ending is problematic, but I still think Naruto's great. I've never understood the love for Dragon Ball, and Bleach to me, looked cool. I think a lot of people don't want to admit that their like of Bleach comes down to just liking the artwork, but. But I don't know, seeing it in live action, like I was, relatively, I wasn't turned off by it. I was turned off by Full Metal Alchemist because I think the reason why I think these manga movies, live action movies, are not going to have the success of like Marvel movies, is the fact that just translating them is so ridiculous. These characters are drawn to look like white kids, and when you try to depict them in their natural state, it just doesn't work. We saw this Attack on Titan. Rurouni Kenshin, which has a Japanese-looking character for a character who's meant to be Japanese, and that one they were able to pull that one off. But even though the idea he's got that sort of hair color is ridiculous, but still they were able to pull it off. It's brutally good. Bleach, to me looks pretty cool. I'm really, I mean, there's no question that the special effects are not Hollywood quality. There's no question of that. But again, all the characters they show to me looked really good. Like they all look, first of all, they look Japanese for one thing. They didn't look like Japanese kids trying to play white kids and stuff like we saw with Full Metal Alchemist. And I don't know. I dug it. I thought it was pretty neat. Now, again, whether or not the overacting, which I think happens in way too many Japanese productions for when it comes to the kid stuff, the characters are so over the top. And again, stuff that would never fly in an American superhero movie. They make it too much like manga instead of trying to adapt it the right way. But I don't know. It looks better to me than I thought. So I gotta say, I'm giving it a hopeful anticipation. I still want to see the Gintama live action movie. I love Gintama, and I really want to see a live action movie. I heard it's really good, but I just I would hope that Netflix makes it available like they did Full Metal Alchemist. So okay. Yeah, Netflix Death Note was not great, although I did like I did like Rook. I liked Rook in the Death Note movie, and I liked the death scenes. And I liked L. I thought L was actually pretty good. I don't the whole idea of people tripping about the fact that he was black, I find that ridiculous. It's like you didn't trip about the characters being white, but you were tripping about this character being black. I think we all know what was going on that, but yeah, I thought definitely was fun. What surprised me is that given that Netflix wants people watching their channel, their internet channel often, I was really surprised given the material of Death Note that they didn't just do a completely authentic version of Death Note. It could be with a Japanese cast, or it could be, but an American production, or it could have been with an American production. Had they cast Zac Efron. I mean, again, this is the problem with diversity and the fact that we got too many young people who don't really properly appreciate diversity. Had they cast Zac Efron as Light, no one would have said a damn word. These young girls and young guys, Asian or white, would not have said one damn word about Death Note. They may have talked about Rook. They may have talked about other aspects of it. They wouldn't have said a damn word about Zac Efron playing Light. Not one word. So yeah, I think that. So I think there's some hypocrisy with that question. I think we all know that. But at the same time, though, I was surprised they didn't do a live action TV show. 8 episodes like the Marvel TV shows. Make it 8 episodes, make it 10 episodes, maybe 13, and just go out and just tell the full Death Note story. I think it would have been fantastic. I think you could have let the characters breathe a little bit more. You could have got into more of the story. You could have got into more of the twists and turns the way the TV show does, the way the anime and the manga did. And I think it just would have been better fit for Netflix. I was really surprised that they tried to condense all of that into a movie. That really, really surprised me. But, it is what it is. But I didn't think it was nearly as bad as people made it out to be. And again, my whole thing is that has anyone seen, I say this all the time, if you have an issue with the Death Note American version, have you seen either the TV Death Note live action or the Japanese film Death Note? Because God knows, if you think those are somehow better because they've got Japanese actors, you are insane. Those things are as ridiculous as the American version, and I would say worse because at least the American version has high production values, has actors who can act and things like that. the Japanese versions to me were not at all impressive. I mean, they were embarrassing. I didn't cut for them at all. So yeah. So all right. So Too Blind to You says, "Where's that Clock Striker anime at?" We have some things that hopefully will be announced when it comes to anime soon. So or relatively soon. So just stay tuned. Yeah, so that's that. But yeah, it sounds like everybody kind of, you know, I'm glad to see some Gintama fans. I love that. I mean, I get Dylan's point. You know, the idea of having Rook as a human character could have been really fascinating. I mean, again, look, I don't disagree with any of that. I think it could have been a really impressive way to do it. I totally agree. At the same time, I think you could have done the regular TV show. I think you could have done it regular with the Japanese cast. I'm still struck that they didn't say, "Hey, let's just cast some Japanese kids, but we're going to do it our way. We're going to make a film. We're going to make a TV show. I mean, our way. So we're going to, you know, make the acting really solid. We're going to go for real emotion. We're going to make it serious. We're not going to try to, you know, do some of this cheese ball stuff that the some of these. I mean, just I don't know. If you go, just Google the trailer, YouTube the trailer for the Death Note Japanese version, and just see some of the overacting and stuff. It's just, oh my god, it's just I can't even begin to say how ridiculous it is. It's beyond ridiculous. So I don't know. Like I said, here's the Bleach. Let's see if Bleach does it. There's a moment in the Bleach trailer where he does that, where he does when he's kind of overacting things. I'm like, oh god, spare me this. You know, like I'm not interested in seeing a character kind of have to gesticulate and kind of overemphasize what they're feeling because this is how they do it in Japanese TV shows or movies. Like I don't want to see that. That's just that takes me right out of taking this stuff seriously. And by the way, because I know some people will say, "Oh, you're not getting the Japanese culture." BS. I've lived in Japan. That's not even remotely accurate. But let me say this right now: if you've never been to Japan and you don't know how Japanese people are, then do yourself a favor. Go look at some great Japanese movies. You know, Akira Kurosawa. Go look at even some smaller Japanese films. You know, and just see some of these films that are Oscar nominated as foreign film and so forth, and just see what actual Japanese mannerisms, acting, even The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. Just go see actual Japanese acting, and you'll see that overacting shit is something that is unique to Japanese when they're converting, you know, stuff that they consider to be kid properties. Which again, if you see Power Rangers in America or in the West, it's very similar to that. And I'm not trying to see Power Rangers. I'm not trying to see people like overact. I want to see, you know, characters act like real human characters. And I think that's why Marvel's been so incredibly successful. So, all right. So let's see here. They're doing a live action Naruto, folks. But they are doing London. Supposedly Lionsgate's doing it, which means it's probably going to come out. The difference is that it'll be American. So we'll see if here's the key question, folks. This is what you got to wonder. Will they make Naruto a white kid? Or will they make him a Japanese kid with blonde hair? That will be the question. And the reason I say that is because, as I've said many times before about diversity, the problem with the way manga is currently, the reason at least why Saturday M exists is that that's just like, you know, that stuff may seem to make sense to some people, but it doesn't make sense to everybody. And the problem is that, therefore, then, is that when you start going down some of that stuff, you know, you start getting into some of these elements where the characters end up. Trying to think of the best way to put it. The characters end up. Sorry, I'm changing screens here so I can get to some other stuff here. But when you start getting into some of that stuff, then you start getting into scenarios where the characters just don't look, you know, right. And again, the average audience, you know, again, like manga is manga, but the average audience, they will not. The people who go see and make superhero films like Marvel, you know, billion-dollar films, they're not gonna see something that looks ridiculous and go, "Oh, that makes sense." Like they're not gonna think that. It's just unfortunately the reality. So so let's see here. I'm gonna bring the screen up here in a minute, folks. Just give me a second here. I've got to take some medicine and get myself right. So I'm trying to get myself going there. I didn't realize I didn't have the thing set for live chat. So I saw someone there was trying to be rude. So you know how we treat rude people. We send his ass right out the chat. Which, by the way, you know, I'm down to talk about diversity any day of the week. If you want to discuss diversity in a mature way, then I'm all for it. But if your notion is somehow that diversity is a patently ridiculous idea, then, as we said before, then why are you in this chat? That's what Saturday M is all about. That's like you know, going into if you think that abortion is the most evil thing in the world, then why are you going into a pro-abortion chat? You know, why are you go if you think that DC Comics sucks, then why are you going to a DC Comics chat to give your opinion? You know, like that's, again, you know, dialogue is needed, and we need to have good conversations and dialogue, and I'm all for good dialogue. But again, you know, we got to get to a place where we have intelligent discussions and not get bogged down into someone who has this liquid courage and wants to demonstrate that they themselves know what they're talking about, which typically is not the case. Okay, so Summer of Manga. So we're going to talk about Summer of Manga now. I know that has been a topic that maybe you guys want to chat about, so we're going to do that here in just a moment. Give me a second. I got to pull it up here. There we go. I'm going to take some medicine here too, because I am just, man, I feel like crap. You know, I'm not a Marvel Comics fan. That's the thing that's so funny. I'm not a Marvel Comics fan, and I could not agree with you more. Marvel Comics is just, they're just killing it right now. I mean, you know, I'm a huge DC Comics fan, but the idea that Marvel is not killing it is just, you know, crazy. And again, I think the reason that they're killing it is, as we've talked about, because they are focused on, you know, they know what they're trying to do. They're trying to tell stories that are solid and stories that make sense for their characters, and they're just, you know, focused on doing the best job for the fans that will support them. And I think that is really, really crucial. I think manga and anime, I think, again, they've got to figure out what they want. You know, if traditional Japanese manga and anime is only created for the Japanese market, but then you gladly take the money from people around the world, well, then you do have to ask yourself whether or not you know, and I've said this before in diversity panels, but I do not know of any publicly traded business. And these guys, by the way, folks, these corporations that produce manga in Japan are publicly traded companies. I do not know of any publicly traded company that would say, you know, when they're releasing their numbers for their stock performance, oh, we don't worry about that. We don't worry about Japan. Or we don't worry about America. No. We just make our stuff just for this market. I mean, unless you're talking about women, you know, around the world, maybe, but unless you're just talking about women or a certain type of group, the idea that you just say, yeah, we don't worry about that is just like, that would never fly. And I don't know how we've gotten this place, as this young man I just kicked out of the chat, gotten this place where there's a sort of ignorant defense of manga and the concept of diversity. Like, who cares? You know, they make what they want to make. It's like, well, yeah, they do, and that's great. But then I have every right to say, well, then, but you're not making content that shows that I matter to you as a consumer. Well, then I'm out. And as a publisher of content, you know, I publish content that matters to lots of people. I'm trying to publish content that looks like the world that we want to sell to. And Marvel has, I think, has done such a great job with this. If they said we're going to make superhero movies just for comic book fans, well, then therein lies your problem. Ask DC how that's working out when Zack Snyder thought he was going to speak to just a small group of DC Comics fans. That's not how the world works, folks. You know, Marvel has found the formula. They're like, we're going to make films that speak to comic book fans, but also speak to a broadest possible audience. They're going to be funny. They're going to have, you know, really clever gags. They're going to, you know, have great action sequences. They're going to have actors who look the part and are appealing. I mean, I was laughing at someone the other day about how Marvel movies, they objectify men in the most impossible ways. Like, you will see men always with their shirt off, whether it's Thor or Captain America. They always going to have a scene where they're wearing a tight shirt or they got their shirt off and so forth. It is totally cool. It's totally cool, but they know what their audience is. So that's kind of the deal, you know. That's kind of the situation. Is you know, diversity is, if you're fighting against diversity, then you really are a fool. There's no other way to put it. You know, diversity is not something that you have to champion, but if you don't recognize the importance of diversity in terms of creativity and just making the world a more beautiful place, then you really are living in a sad reality. And you don't need to be in our chats. You don't need to be coming to our shows. You don't need to be interacting with us because we stand for it. If you want to have a discussion about it and you have something intelligent to say, and I'm all ears. I love good discussion. But if you're going to come in there and start whining like that young man, I'm going to bounce your ass right on out. And you can go to whatever clan meeting he wants to go to. So let's talk about Summer of Manga. And Dylan, there is no memory for iPads, buddy. What you buy is what you buy. There's no swappable memory. You're stuck with what you get, except for the cloud, where you can put a lot of stuff in the cloud. Man, all right. My throat's not holding on, folks. My throat is holding on for dear life. Good God. All right, so we're gonna try to wrap this up because my throat is holding on for dear life. So let's see here. Let's say Summer of Manga. So we get a lot of questions about Summer of Manga. This comes up a lot about Summer of Manga. And I think the key thing to keep in mind with Summer of Manga is that, this is a short story event. This is a short story submission period. And people ask, okay, well, why are you doing that? Is there a way for me to submit my comics to Saturday? And the answer is not really. I mean, this is it. So I want to explain a little bit about why we're doing it this way. Because we used to have something called pilot manga. And we get a lot of people asking about pilot manga. So we stopped doing pilot manga because we simply just don't have enough people to manage pilot manga. It was unfair to the people in the group. And on top of that, we had a lot, as we've talked about all night tonight, and we talk about, every time we do these chats, we talk about it, because for whatever reason, we seem to engender people who would never act this way in public, but, get courage behind a computer screen. And so we had a number of people who just were frustrated that we didn't think that they were brilliant or weren't letting them, do X, Y, Z, or thought that we were. My favorite was, someone went on this whole rant about how, we're doing it wrong. We're doing it wrong. It's not working. And I'm thinking like, man, that was a couple of years ago. I'm thinking like, man, we made it to issue 84, 85. Saturday PM's drop. We got 6 books out there, 2 of which are bestsellers on Amazon. We've attended a number of conventions where we've, dramatically increased our fan base. Our subscription numbers are up. Our traffic numbers are up. We've got advertisers. We're in talks with we're producing our first video game. We got anime companies talking to us. But this kid, he was a kid. I think he was like 17 or 18 years old. Is going to literally get into a digital shouting match with me, someone, damn near 20-some years older than him, about how we're doing it wrong. And this is why we've stopped doing polymer. This is why I said, I just told White, and then one day I said, we're stopping. I'm not doing polymer anymore. Because all that was happening was that we were emboldening people who did not need to be emboldened. Their ego was already way out of whack. They were in a position where they were surrounded by other talented creators. And my thing has always been really simple. If you don't like Saturday AM, if you don't like me or Andrea, White, Morgan, Jay Oden, Raymond, any of our people, fine. There's plenty of places to go. Again, this is not the era I grew up in. You have every conceivable opportunity to go be seen. Line Webtoon, Tapastic, Smack Jeeves, Smashwords if you want to be a writer. Fanfiction.net, Comixology, Amazon. You don't need Saturday AM. But that becomes the part that's so funny. That's the part where I think the young people who, again, like we've seen tonight, get above themselves a little bit. The part they never understand is that someone who's seen it, someone who's been there and done it, I look at that and I say, but I know why you're here. And that's why this dynamic will never change. See, we built our brand. We're doing what we want to do. We're focusing on what we're trying to get accomplished. It's hard. It's not easy. I'm sick as a dog right now, and I'm doing this chat just to continue to get our brand out there and interact with people who care about what the stuff that we're doing and have legitimate questions. I'm taking, the occasional abuse from people and stuff, and I'm sick as a dog. But you know what? This is what you have to do. I'm not getting paid for this tonight. So this is what it really looks like. This is what it really feels like. And anyone who wants to disagree with how we're doing it is free to, because you don't have to be engaged with what we're doing. But the last thing we're going to do is devote resources and time to trying to work with young people who don't appreciate what we're trying to do. What's the point of that? So we shut Pilot Manga down, and some of those creators went to go form a company that, or they actually didn't go form a company. They tried to form another company, which died immediately. I think it was called IMF or Indie Manga, something or another. And then some of those people then ended up hooking up with this basketball player and then trying to create a competitor to our brand. And that's that one's been an interesting experiment. We've seen some stuff that it's been interesting. I'll put it like that. But we're not in any way losing our position as the most diverse manga anthology on the planet. Our brand has just gotten bigger. So Pilot Manga we stopped doing, even though we loved it. We loved what it stood for. We loved the concept of it. But we kicked off March Madness, which has been a tremendously successful project for us, and we've now kicked off Summer of Manga starting last year, and that's tremendously successful. The thing about Summer of Manga that's important for us is that, as you see here in this image, the key idea behind Summer of Manga, unlike Pilot Manga, was we're looking for the best new storytellers. Period. We want storytellers. We're not interested in people who have ideas. We're not interested in people who are trying desperately to be taken seriously in the webcomic sphere. Just think about that for a second. If you have an issue with how we're doing things, but you want us to publish you, how does that look in your mind in terms of the dynamic of that relationship? How does that look? How does that ever look like it's in your favor? Especially when you've got a million places you can go to, some of which, by the way, have better traffic than we do. What does that say about why you're continuing to put your lot in with Saturday AM? What we want at Saturday AM is not people who just want to be with us because they're in love with the brand, they love the creators that we've got. They think that we can make them cooler. Basically, is what it comes down to. What we want is to try to get people who can tell stories, and that's really, really difficult. I said this in the show in Portland. I said it in Cleveland. The thing that I always say repeatedly about comics and manga and so forth is that when you're trying to tell a story, any fool has an idea. But if I went right now into those conventions, if I went right now into this chat, the people who will watch this chat, days from now, weeks from now, hours from now, I guarantee you any one of them can post a comment once this is done. So this will be our social experiment, folks. This is our social experiment tonight. Check back on this video. We'll take the looks, folks. We'll take the looks. It just makes us look better. But check the video. You don't have to watch the whole video. Just pull it up on your site a day from now, a couple of days from now, a couple of hours from now, and see what comments are made to this question. Can you tell a Batman story, a really good Batman story in 20 pages? Can you do it? Sounds crazy, doesn't it? That sounds ridiculous. Everybody knows who Batman is. So I'm not saying something that's shocking to you. You may like Batman, you may dislike Batman, but everyone on this chat, everyone who will watch this chat knows who Batman is. No one will watch this and not know who Batman is. Trust me. You're not going to find this chat and try to watch Batman and say you don't know who Batman is. But that question of can you tell a simple Batman story, you'd be surprised how many times I've asked that question and gotten crickets. Because the fact of the matter is that what most people are doing when they come to us or come to other companies, when they go on social media, when they act a fool in our chat, what they're doing is they're learning all the lessons we talked about earlier tonight, and they're learning the wrong lessons. Remember, I said that you can't be a creator nowadays and not use social media. It's crazy, but you got to use social media. You've got to use social media. You've got to demonstrate, whether it's to us or Marvel or DC or Del Rey Books or Katakawa, Yen Press, whoever, you've got to demonstrate that you're serious about building a fan base. And that begins with you putting your stuff out there in social media. So when we get to stuff like this, and I say, can you tell a Batman story? You'd be surprised how many people Literally can't, because in their mind, social media for them is just about building them. I remember I had this conversation with White when I first met him. It won't shock anybody to know that White is super talented. He's a rock star, one of the most impressively talented young men I've ever met. In a long career with executives and creative people that many of you guys have heard of, I still am amazed when I see White Monk. I find him extraordinary. Adunze is an extraordinary young man. But I say that to say that when I first met him, like many young people I've had to deal with, I had to kind of bring him back down to his level. His ego, was where you'd expect, because he's on YouTube. He's got a lot of fans on YouTube and stuff. And I had to say, "Oh, slow it back down, buddy, because you've not sold anything. People who like you for free aren't real fans." White's got over 100,000 followers on his YouTube channel. We publish his books. I pushed that boy to get his first book out. Laid out the plan for him to get his first book out. He doesn't have 100,000 sales. I know this. But like a lot of young people, and again, I want to be very clear about this, White has learned this lesson and is one of our most important members. In fact, he's a co-owner in the company. I made him a co-owner in the company because of how talented and focused that young man is. But what I made clear to White is what I tell you guys right now. You can't do all three. What am I talking about all three? All three is you can't be the creator of a cool work, a star, and a legendary figure. You can't be all three, folks. It doesn't work that way. That's not how life is. You know who's a legendary figure? Steve Jobs, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg. Do any of them look like you guys? The answer is hell no. Because you got one idea that you've barely done anything with does not make you someone able to do all three. So what does that mean? It means, first of all, you got to at least do one, and do one really well. And what is that one thing? Tell the fucking comic book story. Show that you can tell a good comic book story. So if that's the thing that you've got to do first, then that's what you got to do. And so often in pilot manga, so often again with these kids who were in our pilot manga, then ran to try to start their own company because, a friend doesn't want to listen to me and so forth. And I didn't. I knew then what they were capable of. That's why, we're not worried about them today. But if you're going that route, then you've got to prove you can tell a story. A story is not an idea. Having an idea in your head is not a story. Does not make you a storyteller. I say this all the time about writers when they say to me, well, hey, I'm a writer, but I got to get a comic book artist. Can you help me? And I'm like, then you're not a writer. Writers write. They don't wait for an artist. People, they just announced the Pulitzer Prize winners this year. Kendrick Lamar was on the list along with some of my favorite writers from the Washington Post. You think they had artists helping them create their craft? No, they just wrote and performed. Meanwhile, comic artists draw. You draw. If you draw illustrations or fan art of your favorite characters, but you don't know how to tell a story from panel to panel, page to page, then you're not a comic book artist. You may be a great museum artist. You may be the future Da Vinci of our time, the future Van Gogh of our time. Your stuff may go for thousands of dollars in the future. But as of right now, you're not a comic book artist. Because comic book artists tell stories visually, panel to panel, page to page for 5, 10, 15, 20 pages or more. You saying that you've got an idea for a story that's 18 volumes long means nothing. It means literally nothing. Because real creators don't tell you what they intend to do, they show you what they're doing. And when we talk about all the different places, again, where you can take your comic book, places that aren't Saturday AM, places where you can upload your comic book tonight, right now, for free, places that have better traffic than Saturday AM does. It doesn't mean that you'll look as cool as you look at Saturday AM. I'll admit that. But all of that, and you're wondering why we don't publish your brilliant $1 million idea? That's why. because you don't really want to. 9 times out of 10, folks really want to. They want to be with us. They want to be part of our little clique or club. In which case, as I said earlier, folks, and listen to what I say, because when I say these things, that's why I don't do these chats often, because I don't feel like I have to say the same thing over and over again, even though I do say the same thing over again. I feel like if I say something to you, everything I say to you is deliberate. It's literally true. It's true for us, at least. When I said to you earlier that Saturday AM is what it is because we are nerds and we are geeks and we are, we're not the popular kids. Well, then the idea that you want to be a part of Saturday AM, for what? Like, we're not gonna, somehow make you cool. Hell, we're the uncool kids. And that's what makes us happy. We're like, well, I just want to hang with you guys. I want to be a part of a clique or part of a clique. We're not a clique. Everyone here sacrifices their ass off, whether it's money, time, effort. They sacrifice their ass off. That's why Saturday AM has lasted where other companies haven't. So Summer of Manga is very specific. We want to find storytellers. We're not worried about whether or not you got the next Apple Black or Clock Striker. We want to find storytellers. And so we've crafted the submission event to be just that. So I get notes from people all the time, whether it's on Instagram, other places, but I get these notes all the time. Folks are like, hey, man, so how in the world can I Red F, I don't even know what you're talking about, man, but I'll check it out in a minute. But when I get these notes, people are like, hey, man, so how can I get my comic in there? And we're like, well, you can't. I mean, it's not because we're trying to be coy. It's like we got our hands full doing what we're doing right now. And people always hate to hear that. They always hate to hear the truth. And I'm like, the truth of the matter is, I remember we had this one just a complete asshole little man. This man was a straight little asshole. I think he watched too much The Wire, because he thought he was a little badass talking to me. And I'm too old and have lived too much of a life to give a shit. But he came at me and he was like, man, he's like, that's it. That's a better way to talk to me. I'm thinking, like, who the hell are you? Why do you think I need to talk to you a certain way? You don't support our business. You're not a fan. You're not a customer. He was talking to us about how he would make our comic book great. And I'm like, are you out of your damn mind? I don't even know who you are. I haven't seen anything about you that's impressive. The biggest part about it was that what really got him was the fact that, he wrote me a personal note talking about how he wanted to join Saturday AM. And the fact that I wrote him back a note, just kind of like a form note. Because, folks, I don't have time to write everybody a note. So I just write back kind of form note, say, hey, we don't accept unsolicited submissions. This is what we're doing, yada, yada. By the way, the kid who we kicked out of Pilot Manga that kind of led to the demise of Pilot Manga, who then tried to create this IMF thing and then ran to his basketball player to create this other company, the exact same scenario, literally the exact same scenario. He didn't even last in Pilot Manga for a day. He did not even last for a day because he was hell-bent on having this attitude and belief that this group that he was desperate to be a part of, Saturday AM, that the minute we told him, hey, we have rules, we have a certain way you have to behave, please, kind of step back and resubmit, yada, yada. And that just set him off. And that's just a telltale sign right there of someone who's not going to last. You got to get your ego out of the place, folks. Creativity, no one in the creative industries, whether it's music or art, comics, video games, no one has the right to make a living. No, life does not matter because you drew your comic book. Got to have someone who's a doctor, got to have someone who's a nurse, got to have someone who does taxes, got to have someone who picks up trash, got to have someone who, goes and, does the various things that we deal with in our everyday lives, grocery store, transporting goods and services from one state to the next, from one city to the next, from one store to the next. Those things make a difference in your life. You telling your version of Dragon Ball doesn't make a difference in anybody's life. Not one iota. Not one person's going to wake up tomorrow and say, what I'm missing in my life is this person's take on Dragon Ball or Naruto or Bleach. So Summer of Manga is meant to strip that ego right out of the people who are trying to get down with Saturday AM. What we're looking for are short stories. Can you tell a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end? Really simple. That's why I said, can you tell a Batman story? We all know what happens in Batman stories. Batman is Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne's a playboy. Bruce Wayne dresses up as Batman to fight crime. Bruce Wayne is, chilling on a date. He gets, the bat signals in the sky. He's like, "Excuse me for a second, madam." He runs to the bathroom, calls Alfred, says, "Hey, meet around back." Changes to his Batman costume, goes out, goes to the scene of the crime. There's Joker. Joker's threatening to poison the city sewer. He goes to fight Joker. Joker gets a jump on him thanks to his goons. Batman gets knocked out. Next, he wakes up. He's in a death trap. He's got to get out of the death trap. He's got to find Joker and win. End of day. Boom. Batman story. What you do in that Batman story can alter, can be different, but that's a Batman story. That's a Batman story. It's got a beginning. It's got a middle. It's got an end. We want a short story with a beginning, middle, and end. Whether your story is about two people falling in love, was about two people going to a coffee shop and discovering something, was about an alien who comes to the planet Earth and is being pursued by alien bad guys. Whether it's whether it's about someone who dresses up at night to take on crime or dresses up at night to create crime. That is a short story. So when you do Summer of Manga, what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. There's a form that you get. And in that form, to submit your material, we look at what it is that you're proposing. So there's three things we're looking for: the name of the story. And I'll tell you right now, we don't give you a negative rating for this. I don't judge you harshly. Naming is really hard. So sometimes we get some stuff when we're at the show. We do live review sessions, folks. We do live review sessions at these shows. And I had somebody come to me and his story idea. I mean, his story was called something. I told him it sounded like a romance flick on Lifetime, like The Flowers on the Petal or some shit like that. It was an action adventure kind of Tokyo Ghoul type of thing, but it was literally called like The Flowers on the Petals or something like that. And I said to him, that's the silliest name I've ever heard in my life. Like when I hear that, I think of something else. That's not going to work. But I didn't judge his work on that. So we want to see what your naming is. We want to see what you're calling your series. And I promise you again, the vast majority of people submit stuff. I've already seen it. It's either got some. Here are the things folks are going to have in there. So here's some things. Here's some free advice. Don't put this in your stuff. It's going to have dragon. It's going to have fantasy. It's going to have final. It's going to have ninja. It's going to have Tokyo. It's going to have ghoul. It's going to have attack. Somewhere in the title is going to have those words. If you're sitting on stuff like that, then step back. Step back. Try something different. Number two, we want you to give us a pitch. What is a pitch? A pitch is really simple, folks. A pitch is really simple. I view a pitch, and I said this in this meeting with the screenwriter and the novelist, and both of them kind of were like, "Man, damn, that's a really cool way to do it." But but this is as people who followed us know, this is how we've always done it. A pitch to me is 4 to 6 words. Now, yes, it can be more words, of course, but the reason it's 4 to 6 words is because we want you just to take one concept meets another concept. It's not 3 concepts. It's not 16 concepts. It's one concept meets another concept. So if I say to you, I've got an idea. It's called, Card Man. And the pitch is Batman meets Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, that fits in the word count that I'm looking for. But some of these Japanese names, if you're going to use a Japanese property, they might have lots of names in it, right? So, so you might go over the 4 to 6 word limit. That's okay. But it needs to be 2 concepts. It's not, what you don't do is say it's Batman meets Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, meets Yu-Gi-Oh! Meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You don't do that because that's ridiculous. That what that shows me is that you don't know what your property is. If you and the problem with that is that if you don't know your property, then again, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be able to actually do the story. Tell a short story. Because what you should be doing is, as we said about our editorial at the very beginning of this chat, you should be looking at what you're trying to do in a spectrum with guardrails, right? Guardrails are bouncing you back so you can stay focused on what you have to do. When you remove the guardrails, then that sheet of paper that you have is just a big blank sheet of paper. And you know what? You got a big blank sheet of paper where you can put anything in there, then you're going to spend a lot of time thinking of useless, unnecessary things. So summer manga is kind of like taking a sheet of paper you're going to submit your stuff on, and I take half the paper and I mark it up so you can't write in it. So now you're forced to put everything we want in that bottom half. I promise you, under that scenario, you're going to be more focused. You're going to deliver a more concentrated idea. But the first thing, again, you're going to give us a name. You're going to give us a pitch, 4 to 6 words. Batman meets Yu-Gi-Oh! Jurassic Park meets robots, whatever. And then you have a paragraph. It's not a lot. It's not a huge paragraph. It's a paragraph, maybe 5 sentences, maybe 6, to tell us what the plot is. And why is this important? Because one of the things that happens so frequently is that we get people who are trying to tell us backstory. They're trying to convince us that what they've got to say is really unique. So the way I term it is, you're on a date and you're going out with someone, man or female, who is really, really, you think out of your league, and you want them to like you. So you start telling them everything that you think they might like to hear. So instead of you letting them talk, instead of you having a good dinner or meal or enjoying the show you're at, you're talking a lot about you. And you're telling them everything that possibly they could care about knowing about you, because you're hoping that will be enough to convince them that you're an interesting person. Backstory is not a plot. The Bruce Wayne idea, Batman concept, is a guy whose parents got murdered in front of him, dresses up as a bat at night to fight crime so no one knows who he is, so that he can prevent other little kids like him when he was a kid from suffering the same fate. That's what Batman's plot is. If you don't like the idea of him dressing up as a bat, you think that's too silly, then you're not going to like Batman. No amount of story about, well, here's who Alfred is, here's the car he drives, here's how wealthy he is, here's what his parents used to do, here's all this rose gallery. None of those things are going to help you enjoy the story if you don't like the idea of this guy dressing up as a bat. So then don't try to do it. Know how to tell your story. Focus on introducing your character, having a beginning, a middle, and end. And I promise you, if you're focused on just telling an interesting, entertaining story, then all you need is 5 to 6 sentences to tell us the plot. You don't need more than that. And that's what the submission looks like. Now, in the submission, we ask you for the following. We say, hey, what is your Instagram profile? And we expect you to tell us exactly what your Instagram profile is. Don't put on there yes. Don't put on there don't give us give us the full address, Instagram.com/hushpuppy or Bobby Two Tones or Juju Bean or whatever the hell your name is. Put that there. Far too frequently we see people half-ass that one simple request to where we can't even find their Instagram profile. Either they didn't put the full name in there, or they forgot to put, they didn't put the address in there. It's such a simple thing to do that when you don't do it, it makes us question whether or not you can even tell a story. If you can't follow simple directions, I gotta be honest, that's serious. That makes us think twice about you. The second thing we ask for is, do you have a profile? Mr. Doobie Doo, yes. Do you have a online portfolio? Do you have an online portfolio or profile? Do you have anything like that? Do you? We care about that. That is something that we want to see. And the reason we want to see that is because, you know, what we're hoping to figure out, what we're hoping to learn is we want to see your artwork. We want to see your artwork. We want to see what sort of stuff you have. We want to see sequential artwork. We want to see turnarounds. We want to see character designs. We want to see artwork. We want to see you at your best. If I go to your Instagram profile and you just got pictures up there of you and your dog and going on summer vacations and partying, this, that, and the other, then I don't know. Then there's nothing there. You may have the coolest idea in the world. If you don't have artwork on either of those places, then we reject it. We reject the story. Doesn't matter how cool we think it is. We reject it. And the reason for this is, again, back to what we talked about at the beginning of this chat, folks. If you're pursuing this, if you're serious about this, then yes, some people are assholes. And yes, some people are rude and they think they're far cooler than they actually are. And yes, some of these people are going to try to get onto your thing and send you down votes or your YouTube videos or try to get into the chats and talk shit and so forth. It doesn't make it right. And again, I think it won't last. I think those people are going to get called out publicly at some point in the near future. I just think the world's changing too rapidly through social media, and governments and companies don't want that stigma. So again, you know, some of these folks, be brave today, because I promise you, your words are going to come back to haunt you in the future. But regardless, if you are a creator, you're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to deal with that. But more importantly, if you're too worried, and we've seen this frequently. If you are too worried to put your artwork up there for people to see, but you want us to take you seriously in creating a short story, well, then you have severely miscalculated your situation. Because there's nothing worse. There is literally nothing worse than asking someone to take you seriously as a creator, and yet you're too concerned, scared, cowardly, arrogant, angry, you know, whatever, to put your work out there to be seen by the public and judged by the public. Yes, it doesn't excuse what people will say. Those who want to be mean or hurtful or prejudiced or rude. None of that is right. But if you can't take that challenge on, then you're not gonna be making a summer of manga, and then summer of manga is your way into Saturday AM. You're not gonna make it a Saturday AM or Saturday PM, because it requires a level of strength and focus and belief and willpower and confidence and desire to win. So again, that's the general idea here. So I know there's so many of these. There's a lot of questions that have come up. I'll address these questions here. I'm going to scroll back up in a minute. But again, the submission process, we ask for 3 written things, and then we ask for 2 locations where we can view your artwork. Give us the full web address so we can find your artwork, please. If we can't get to your artwork, if you put something in there incorrectly, and folks, again, most of you guys are old enough to know this, right click, copy the address in your address bar, and then paste it in the line. Because I'm telling you right now, because this has already happened, if you misconstrue that, if you don't do that properly, we're not going to fix it. We're not going to then go, okay, let's contact this person and find out what the proper way in there. We've got too much work going on, folks. We got conventions, this animation stuff we're trying to work on, video games. We got too much stuff on our plate to try to help you submit content to us. Diligence should be the thing that you're focused on more than anything. Just being diligent and professional in your presentation. So, with all that being said, the last thing I'll say before I answer some of these questions is take a swig of water here, because God, my throat's on fire. Good God. That felt good. Let's see here. The last thing I'll say is that we've received submissions for the first round. We will review them. We will let people know on the 25th if they're accepted. If they're accepted and we like what they're doing, then we'll say, okay, then, hey, we're going to give you 20 pages. We're going to give you 5 pages. We're going to give you 10 pages. We're going to give you this amount of pages to tell your story in. So if you've already created a short story, You better hope that it fits within the page count that we think it is. And we're putting those page counts together, folks, for really simple reasons. Because again, when we give you too big of a canvas, it's easy to fail. We have a product to put out. You're going to go into our magazine. So what we have to make sure of is that when the deadline comes due, you can go into the magazine. It's not going to work to go through all of this, and then when the time the deadline comes through, you don't have your stuff ready to go into the magazine. You misjudged it. So we're going to say to you, nope, you've only got 10 pages, 15 pages. Because again, folks, if you can't tell a story, in 5, 10, 15, 20 pages, then you're not a storyteller. I'm sure someone will hear this and go, who does he think he is? And they'll give me another down vote. Don't give a shit. That's truth. That's real talk. If you can't tell a story, a short story, with the beginning, middle, and end in 5, 10, 15, 20 pages, then you're not a storyteller. No one say you're not, just because you want to be a creator doesn't mean that you're destined to be a creator, doesn't mean that you're supposed to be a creator, doesn't mean that you're owed by anybody to make you a creator. No one's life depends on you making comics. So you got to take the opportunities as they're presented, and you got to take them faithfully and execute them to the best of your ability. So with all that being said, let's see here. Let's go through some of these comments here. I know there's a lot of them. So I went up as far as I could. I'm sure I'm missing some of the stuff here. But John Mendoza says, what happens to some creators has another idea for a comic instead of the first comic idea for summer manga? So again, this is something, this came up, this happened at one of my panels this last weekend in Portland. He was very brave young man. He stood up in front, because we had 5, 6, 7 people show up, and he stood in front of, in this case, it was 5 or 6, 7 people were there. He stood up in front of all these people. He gave me his pitch. I gave him my review. It was me and Jay Oden were there. And then I kind of read him the riot act on some of the stuff that he had. So then he did his next one. And I told him, I said, look, I told him what I thought of those properties, of his concept. And I said, look, I said, here's the deal. Ultimately I would reject this idea, if this idea is strong enough, so you kind of have that going on, what he then proceeded to do was he then proceeded to try and sell me on a whole new idea. And we had people in line waiting to get their chance. And so I told him, what I'm going to tell John Mendoza right now, that's not how life works. That's not how life works. That's why I said before, you've got to take seriously the opportunity that's before you. And the reason why, I think that this particular point is so important is because, and the reason I think that, I can be brutally honest here is because at the end of the day, as I said at the very beginning of this, you have other places you can go. Saturday M doesn't owe you anything. You don't owe Saturday M anything. So because of that relationship, because unlike in my era, you could instantly reach millions of people tonight by uploading your comic book to any of our competitors, or some of our competitors, then the idea that we have to bend over backwards for you is ridiculous. It is totally ridiculous. You had a concept, you submitted the concept, you now are like, oh, well, if the concept doesn't work, well, then how do I get in Saturday? And that right there is part of the problem, because it means you're not focused on being a creator. You're focused on trying to have a club to hang out in. Saturday is not a club for everybody. That's not what it is about. We're trying to seriously become a company that can compete with Marvel, DC, some of the other guys. And I promise you, they won't say it like I said it, but a lot of other companies, Valiant, Dark Horse, Image, I'm sure the rest of them will say the same thing. We care about creators finding their voice and telling great stories, and we want to be associated with that great story. And again, the part of this that is sweet or good natured, I guess, is the idea that, we don't care if you come with us. If we think you've got talent, if we think that your voice is crucial, and I think in this case, John Mendoza is someone who he's got fantastic passion, and I know John's background, and I think John is such a special person. I want to see John succeed at this, but again, there are lots of places John can go. So if John goes somewhere else and has success, we're going to cheer for John. We're going to be his biggest fans. But that doesn't mean that we have to bend over backwards because John submitted something that he didn't think was right, that we feel wasn't right, and then no, nope, you can't. So that should answer that question. You got one submission. Take it seriously. That's how life works, by the way. L. Vimbart says, with Summer of Manga, can I add my writer's name? Sure. I mean, this doesn't concern us. Let's see here. What we got here? Sorry, going through a whole lot of comments here on other stuff. So give me a moment. Somebody said live action My Hero Academia. I promise you, you will see that. If these other properties have any success, you will see a My Hero Academia. I'm sure of that. Whether or not it looks ridiculous because all these characters run around with different color hair is another story, but you'll see it. Too Blind to You says DC Comics that didn't have Batman would suck. I don't know. I think DC's pretty cool, but I agree they have some problems. So John says he's got another comment here, which is slightly different. So I'll answer this one. He says, if we publish your short story, is it possible that if it does well, could it be rebooted and changed around as a series? And the answer to that is of course. So we've done this before. This is nothing new. We've taken people who presented a short story via pilot manga or test flights or what have you, and we presented it. People, we saw the response. We saw the response was really good. Remedium Plus is an example, and we said, okay, crap, let's go ahead and turn this into a regular series within the Saturday AM, and that's what we've done. And there might be some minor changes here and there because we want to make it work as a series, and we will communicate that to you. So yeah, so that's probably the best way I can put that. Again, yeah, if you do a short story, the key thing is to do a short story that doesn't have any ulterior motives to it. The short story doesn't have the ulterior motive of trying to be with Saturday AM. It doesn't have the ulterior motive of trying to, squeeze in your idea for the public and so forth. It really has it only has the one idea of, hey, I've got these characters, I've got this idea. I want to make a fantastic short story that can excite people, tell a complete story, make them excited about these characters and this concept, and then hopefully they will respond to Saturday AM that, hey, I want to see more of this, and then Saturday AM will want to either publish it, or if they don't want to publish it, I can still take all that really cool fandom that I got from being in Saturday AM, and I can go to the other companies, the webcomic sites like Line Webtoon or Smack G's or whatever, and I can go in there with a sense of confidence that I will find an audience because it was able to succeed in Saturday AM. I mean, that has to be the way you look at it. That has to be the way you look at it. You can't look at it really any other way but that. And I think if people who look at it from that perspective will be successful. Let's see here. So Too Blind to You says, after Summer of Manga, if a person does not make it, can they come back? Yeah, I mean, of course. If you, I mean, it's not a permanent, no to you. I mean, it's not a permanent no to you. I think that's crazy. Basically just, if you try Summer of Manga and we don't like your short story, now you won't be able to do it again for Summer of Manga, but that's okay. We have other events, we have other opportunities. But again, I'll say what I said a few minutes ago. This has to be about something more than trying to get in Saturday AM. So if you really have a yearning to tell a story, or you want the experience of telling a story, then take that idea. If we said no, then still take that idea and do it on, again, Line Webtoon or Smack G's. Get it out there and see what people think about it. Put yourself out there and see what happens. I think that experience is really crucial for the development of any creator. And the fact that you can do it today for free, to me, then just that actually is an argument against companies being lenient with creators. That's why we're not. I think companies that try to juvenilize these kids who are, and some of them are kids who are making comics, I think that's a mistake. Because the world is really delivering to you an opportunity to get exposure for free, something that my generation and something a lot of other generations didn't have. So, so you should always feel empowered to take your ideas out there to the marketplace. So that's all I can say on that. So Red F Manga again. I didn't say that you weren't good enough. I don't know where you got that from. And I don't know if I even recall seeing your manga. Have you submitted it? Too Blind to You says, can the story have 3 main characters? It can have as many characters as you want. But again, if the story doesn't make any sense, knowing that you're only going to have somewhere between 20 and less pages, then I would caution, that. Angel says they have a deviant art, no Instagram, and that's fine. That's totally fine. VS Studios asked, do we have to be a subscriber to Saturday M Mag to join this? No, of course not. I will say this, and I've said this before, that I had someone write today, as a matter of fact. If you are writing Saturday AM or contacting us about trying to get down the magazine and you've never subscribed to the magazine, I cannot possibly imagine for you how you don't see how that looks. It is extraordinary to me. And it happens. Don't get me wrong. I mean, look, they're creators of March Art Madness, who we're like, we would work with them tomorrow. We would work with them tomorrow if they presented us their stuff, because we know how talented they are, and they don't have to subscribe to Saturday. Half of them probably never heard of Saturday. But when you're someone writing us about joining Saturday and you've never actually subscribed or read the magazine, it just comes across as one of the more immature or kind of crazy ideas out there. It's like trying to go on a date with somebody that you never actually met. You don't actually know what they look like, but your friend said, hey, I've this girl, I met her the other day, she's really cool. And they're like, oh, hey, great, I'm going to contact her after, can we go out? You know anything about it? You don't even know her name. It's kind of weird that way. In other words, I don't know how you want to be in a magazine that you don't know what it looks like, feels like, includes, to know whether or not you have a shot, A, at being in the magazine, and 2, whether or not your material actually fits the magazine. It just strikes me as very odd. So again, you don't have to be a subscriber to Saturday AM to join Summer of Manga, but if you don't know what Saturday AM is, if you've never actually experienced Saturday AM, then that doesn't speak well to you. Dylan Kiefer says, crap, I just had it. Any chance of Summer Manga group opening up like the old pilot manga one? We're talking about doing something unique like that in a different context. We're talking about it. It would cost money, by the way. Sorry, I had to lubricate that throat. But yeah, we are talking about doing something like that. Red F Manga says, my manga may not get lots of money, but if I get Saturday AM, that's all I need. And again, folks, Red F, I'm not trying to pick on you, but like, I don't know, like when you strike me as you've got to be a young person. You've got to be somebody young, because that sounds like a extremely juvenile comment to make. And Saturday is my company. I mean, understand this. Like, I don't have to say what I'm about to say. Saturday is my company, right? I can sit there and bask in the glory of you talking about how awesome Saturday M is. I don't need no money. If I can just get a Saturday M, that's great. I mean, trust me, I could sit back and go, great. You have to be young, because that means you have no real responsibilities. You're not paying any bills. You don't have any people that count on you. So again, we're not a club, dude. Folks, we're not a club. Being in Saturday M is not going to bring you some sort of joy that you don't know about. I would hope it does. I mean, all the people that are in Saturday M right now, we're a very small group, so they've all, earned it to be inside of Saturday M. But there's nothing to be gained from being a Saturday M in your life. Living your life, being there for the people you care about, being a positive contribution to society. That's what you need in life. That's what the world needs. Being a Saturday M is not it. So your first inclination should always be, you want to tell good stories. You want to be amongst people who tell great stories. That could be Saturday M, that could be Dark Horse, that could be Yin Press, Viz, Shueisha, whatever. Marvel Comics, DC. That should be the only thing that motivates you. But being in Saturday AM, that's all you need. That is literally something that if you read this 10 years from now, you'll smack yourself. Like, what the hell was I thinking? That was a dumb comment to make. But again, I get it. You're young. I get it. I totally get it. And again, like I said, it's my company, so I should sit here and be like, that's great. Yeah, just don't say anything, Frederick. Let him showcase his passion for your brand. But I care more about Red F and Timachi and Markel Scott and the people who are Angel Lewis and the people who are in this chat. I care more about you guys having success in your life than I do about you making Saturday AM rich. I care more about that. And so I'd rather tell you the truth about where your focus should be instead of letting you labor under something that's wrong. Markel Scott says, keeping it blunt and real as always. I respect it. Thank you, Markel. I do try to keep it real. Some people aren't ready for that, Markel. Trust me. Some people aren't ready. To me, if any, Timaj says, to me, if any of my characters gets on Saturday's banner, I would feel so satisfied. That is until I come up with something else, of course. And that's good. I can respect that. Red F says, I'm going to wait a few years. Some art can be solid for summer manga. That's good, Red F. That's smart. Ray saying they want to do summer manga with time of serious issue case. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, folks, you should step back. I mean, there's no rush. There's no rush. Saturday M's going nowhere. Trust me, if I can withstand all the shit I go through to make Saturday M happen, then we'll be here. We'll be around. Jin Chan, who created Zero, which is coming back this summer, folks. You'll see it during summer manga. Jin is had a great line. He says, "Can you talk about some of the genres you might want to see?" Yes, I would love to see horror. I would love to see romance. I would love to see historical fiction or thriller. I'd love to see those, or giant mecha. I'd love to see those concepts. And the reason is really simple, because Saturday M is a small group, and one of the things that I've always been very firm about is that we will not publish someone else's work that's similar to another creator's work, because we want our creators to have their own area to play in. All of our creators will compete, and if you join Saturday M, you'll compete. You're going to want to beat Clock Striker and Apple Black and Zero and Soul Beat and all the titles that we have. You're going to want to do that. That's just a professional pride. But under no circumstances will we have a scenario where we're asking you to basically compete against yourself. That's not fair to any creator, especially a first-time creator. So the best thing to tell you is that, we're looking for some genres. We're looking for, the fastest way to get into Saturday M, folks, is to give us something really cool that we've not seen before. And I'm telling you, I said this earlier, I'll say it again. I've seen every idea of Naruto that I could possibly see. I've seen every iteration of Final Fantasy I could possibly see. I've seen tons of Bleach. I've seen lots of Dragon Ball. I've seen plenty of Thieves, One Piece type stuff. Show me, Nisekoi, Ichigo 100%. Show me Mobile Suit Gundam. Show me Death Note. And I don't mean literally Death Note. I don't mean a Shinigami. I see one of our competitors has a Death Note rip. Like, please. I'm looking for something original, but something that can play in those worlds. That's what I'm looking for. So that's cool. Let's see here. John Mendoza says that he will take his stuff to another website. That's great. If he doesn't get into Saturday M, that's good. Javon Hamilton says, how much pitch? Whoops. Where's it at here? Javane Hamilton says, how much pitch have heard what I'm really asking? Damn it, dude. Folks, when you're typing a note, please type. Don't rush it. Type it completely so I can understand what you're saying, because this literally, I don't know what the hell this person's saying. Hey, how much pitch have heard of what I'm really asking is, have you heard the Tale series has a pitch? I do not know what this person said. Javon, please take your time and repeat this and put it in a more simple format for me to understand, dude. I'm suffering from a cold. I'm old, and those things tend to make me cranky when I see stuff like that. Red F Manga says, I said in a live stream that you were nowhere good enough to get in. No, I think I do recall this now, and you were you were saying something in the chat, and I was saying, dude, let's. Yeah, I was trying to reprimand you a little bit in terms of some of the stuff you were saying, and saying, you to say some things you were saying. It's like, you're not at that level yet to be saying some of those things. So step back, stay focused on what you're doing. Don't worry about everybody else, and focus on creating content that you want to create and make it the best it can be. And I'll say it to you today. I said it earlier. Comments like you made earlier, Red F, and this goes for everybody. Don't prejudice what people think about you by letting your enthusiasm get ahead of what matters, which what matters is that they look at you as a professional. You don't have to be 30 years old to be a professional. You don't have to have years of experience drawing comics to be a professional, but you do have to be someone who is focused on relevant matters. And if you're talking about, stuff that comes across as kind of a fanboy or comes across as very young, then they're not going to take you seriously that way. I hate to tell you that. That's just truth. Like I say, other companies may choose not to because they want to, not get negative votes or whatever. But, Saturday is a different type of company. We keep it real. Just because you're young doesn't mean you have to sacrifice what matters and how people perceive you in terms of professionalism in exchange for your youth. You can be young and still maintain a sense of, professional pride. And that's what you have to be taken seriously in this business. And I have no doubt, Red F, I've seen your stuff. You got talent. You've got talent. So, you will get there. Dylan says, if an artist is looking for a writer, feel free to message. Oh, yeah, Dylan is a writer. So if anyone's an artist and want to work with a writer, Dylan is there. Yeah, I'm lubricating my throat. Mutton chop, lubricating my throat. Who knows? VS Studios, yes. I love that VS Studios, yes. Time to bring out the old Dragon Ninja Soul. You forgot Dragon Ninja Hunter, because we see people trying to use Hunter x Hunter all the time. And, hey, I love Hunter x Hunter, so that's great. Thunder X Bear, no, we will do two other. Thunder X Bear asked if Summer Manga is, look, the date is already passed. It was April 15th. They asked, will we do other dates? And the answer is yes. So Summer Manga is summer. So this is the first one. This is for content that if we publish it will appear in our June issue. The next one will happen in May. We'll reveal that later for subscribers first, and then we'll put it on our website. And then and then on that phase, you'll be able to submit content, and that will appear in July. And then the next one after that will be June, and that will appear in August. So we have two other phases. So if you didn't get in this one, don't worry. You got two other bites at the apple, okay? But if you did get in this one and it rejected you, please do not try to resubmit another story, because that's not worth doing. Katatune says, the version of the form I submitted asked for the title and pitch. If we're notified on the 25th, we'll be asked to submit more plot details for review. Yes, you will. Absolutely. Andrew Lewis says, I got a slice of life of comedy, but comedy is tough. And it is. That's what makes it hard. That's what makes it hard. I totally agree. I didn't say any of this was easy, but a slice of life and comedy are really hard. Thriller, detective stories are really hard. We got a comic in Saturday PM called Yellow Stringer, and that it's kind of like a Detective Conan meets supernatural stuff. That was really hard. The creator of that really had a tough time. Was really having a tough time with it. So that's why I said, folks, this is not easy. So stuff like Summer Manga should be really something that people really embrace, because it's giving you a chance to try out telling a short story and putting yourself in the mode of telling a story completely raw, beginning, middle, and end, and seeing if you can do it. It's not easy. If it were easy, everyone would do it, but it's not. Like I say, an idea is easy. Writing a short story is hard. Louis Ortiz says, any room for a time travel action comedy story? Of course. I'd love to see that. Tamachi says, I feel you, Mr. Jones. I wanted to make for you guys because I want to learn to get better. So if you get blunt and harsh with me, I don't mind, sir. In order to succeed, you got to walk through fire. That is so true. Mutton Chop says, do you have openings for writers, be they articles or whatnot? Yeah, we'd love to get more graphic designers. Folks, if you're a graphic designer, or if you're someone trying to make a comic book, but you can do graphic design, we'd love to talk to you. If you're someone who wants to be a writer, but you can't find an artist and stuff like that, as I said, folks, I'll say it again. Just because you want to make something creative does not mean you're destined for that. It doesn't mean that you're owed that opportunity. I give this example all the time. As an African American myself, and some of you are African Americans as well, there's nothing funnier than going to a black church and watching a black woman or man sing their ass off in that choir. I'm convinced I've seen people who can put Beyonce, Whitney Houston, and Neo and other singers to shame, but they are singing in a church choir, and during the week they work at Food Line or Taco Bell or the post office. Why? Because life is not destined for everybody who wants. Creativity is something that's not a right. It's a God-given talent, but it's not a right that you profit from it. That's why, as I said to Red F and other people, that's why I say again, I have no problem busting bubbles, because the reality is that the faster that people embrace the notion that to succeed in anything creative is part luck and then part laser focus is critical. I don't want to see anybody get their heart broken doing this stuff. So it's imperative that I try to make sure you understand, for someone who's accomplished a career in it, that you understand how hard this is. I can fill your head full of nonsense, but I don't do that. I want you to know the truth. This is hard. So yeah, I tell people all the time, if you want to be a comic book artist, that's great. But if you either don't have the talent or you don't have the aspects together to do that, that doesn't mean that you can't have a career in comic books. There are plenty of other. I saw tonight there was a company that reached out and said, hey, do I know anybody who is a social media marketing manager? I'm thinking, shit, I need that for Saturday M. They're like, you know any social media marketing managers? We're looking for people. We are looking for people. And I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. So again, I'll say again, if you, like Mutton Chop just asked, we need writers. That does not mean you're going to write a comic book story. That does mean that you can write an article about diversity in comic books, or what the scene for creating comics or anime manga is in Wisconsin, in Italy, in Brazil, anywhere. We need graphic designers. You might want to create comics, but you know what? We need graphic designers. So if you've got a skill set in InDesign or Adobe Photoshop and so forth, you may be able to do some stuff with us and start making a career in comic books with that. Every company needs that. So really seriously think about that. I wish we had events like that for those type of things. But the problem again is that whether it's immaturity, arrogance, I don't know what it can be, but whatever it is, when we talk about stuff like that, it goes in one ear and out the other, because they're like, oh, I don't care about that. I'm trying to make my ninja dragon warrior idea into the next Apple Black. And the reality of that is so far-fetched, it's ridiculous. The comic industry, has problems, but you can make a living at it. And I love basketball. I love basketball. If you told me 10 years ago that I could have a career in something that I love as a hobby and as a fan, man, I would jump for joy for that crap. I'm always struck when I see young people who don't embrace this aspect of it. That's the realest talk tonight, folks. If you want to get in comics and make a living in comics, get in where you fit in. If you've got some skill sets that can be used right now, then you know what? You got plenty of time to tell your ninja dragon warrior idea. You got plenty of time to get better as a storyteller and so forth. But if you got a chance to make an impact right now, then do that. Too Blind to You says, how do I feel like cop dramas? I'm cool with them. I'd love to see a cop drama. I'd love to see a drama about a black kid who gets killed by a cop. Something that affects my community every damn day, and then the aftermath of that, and having a real serious discussion about that. That would be great. That'd be a fantastic short story. The aftermath of that type of problem that happens far too frequently in communities of Black and brown people. Javon Hamilton says, I'm sorry about that, Frederick. Have you heard the Tales series has a pitch of example, Tales of Abyss or Tales of Zestria? Yeah, I've heard of those. Yeah, I've heard of those. Uh, Markel Scott says this short story has magic in it. Yeah, can they be considered even though there's Apple Black and Saigami? Of course they can. Again, the question is, are they similar to Apple Black and Saigami? The question is, does the story structure, do the characters look like? Does the story itself feel like? Saigami is about a girl transported to a fantasy realm. Apple Black's about people who have wands, and the wands can be anything. It can be your glasses, it can be your cane, it can be your arm. So yeah, if you start going that close to it, then yeah, we'd have a big problem with it. Angel Lewis says, I'm a premium subscriber but haven't been getting emails. I want that may give heads up. Angel, so we apologize for the Angel. I sent out an email to the other day, I think. So we don't send out emails in that for everything, and that's something we got to improve at. Again, that's why we need someone in social media marketing. But we definitely try to post most stuff in there. If ever you feel like there's something that you're not aware of, obviously you knew about this event tonight. If there's something you feel like you're not aware of, please feel free to send an email, info at saturday-am.com, and I will be happy to get back to you on that. But that's a good criticism, Angel, and we need to do a better job of that. VS Studio says, are you still taking the entries through Dropbox? Haven't done this in a while. Again, the April event is done, so we're not taking any entries right now at all. We'll open up May here shortly, and we'll announce that in our magazine for subscribers first. As far as Dropbox, though, yeah, Dropbox is mandatory. Yeah. Javon Hamilton says, about the genre, would you like to see more fantasy mixed with romance, action? Again, this is so, folks, and Javon, I'm not knocking you on this question, but these are sort of questions I think that sometimes they come out, and this is exactly what I try to put my foot down about. Please do not try to legislate your opportunity in stuff like this. That's not why we're doing this event tonight. And what I mean by that is that when you start asking every possible question, no matter how crazy it is, because you want to have the exact scenario that works for you. And that is exactly the sort of problem. That's what I talked about before, about having that blank canvas. Like, I'm not going to arbitrarily and artificially put barriers in your place for you to create content. That's not how this works. My job is not to create your comic book. That's your job. So, I see a question like this, and you're asking me, what genres would we like to see more? Fantasy mixed with romance? There's nothing we want to see more of. And you're thinking about fantasy mixed with romance, action, mythology creatures. Isn't that fantasy? Is that not literally the definition of fantasy? Mythological creatures are in fantasy. Action, I hope action happens in a fantasy. Romance, can happen in anything. So please don't, like that. Again, this, I don't know how old you are, Javon, but this is the sort of questions we get that run me up a wall, because this is when someone is putting their focus on things that are irrelevant. It is irrelevant what we're looking for in the grand scheme of things. You don't have to submit anything fantasy oriented. Just tell a story. Try to tell a good story. And don't worry about it. Just try to tell a good story. That's it. A good story at the beginning, a middle, and an end. Stuff like this is how a lot of creators get caught. We have a comment in corporate America, and I say it all the time, and that is, when you give someone who's not skilled too much rope, they hang themselves. And when I read that comment, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying somebody who's so desperate to try to get, you're trying to get me to craft your opportunity. It's your opportunity, dude. Okay, I can't write your story. You write it. I've said everything I can say tonight about what we're looking for. This is a 2-hour plus chat. So take your time, take a deep breath, think about a story that you think is really cool, and then tell it. And that's as simple as it gets. Next up, we have let's see what we got here. So Tamachi says, what if someone pitched a Persona series? I don't know. I know what Persona is. I don't know. Like I said, this is where we're getting into asking just any question just to try to get me to give you like a focus. I can't do that, folks. I think I've said enough on what you need to do. Is, pitch whatever you want to pitch and just try to tell an original story. It's got a beginning, a middle, and end that you think is exciting, that you think we will be excited by. But asking me every possible series, every possible configuration, that's just not something that is going to work out. White hair artist says, I put in digital work for y'all that y'all wanted from me because I asked to work if y'all in graphic design. I never heard back. No, white hair artist. I don't know what happened there. Again, we're a small group, and I don't know when you did that, but we have so many, the conventions, the video game, all this stuff going on, issues. So, if we didn't get back to you, please just send another note to the same email you sent it to, and I promise you someone will get back in touch with you because we're about to go on our break until the middle of May, so we'll have time to get back to you. Too Blind to You says, what about managers? And we're looking for not. I mean, again, unless you've got real experience, I don't think anyone would be a manager. We've got people who need to step up to that role already inside of Saturday AM. So I don't think we're looking for managers per se, unless you've got experience. If you're someone, and which case, that's again where I come back to. If you've got experience as a manager already, then you'd have to explain to me why you're trying to get with Saturday AM. Why aren't you working at Lion Forge or some of these other publishers? Action Lab. Yeah. So I think that's all the questions, and I think that's pretty much all I can share tonight. Because again, my throat is really bad here. 2 hours was not good for my throat. But it's 11:53. We got 7 more minutes. I am certainly open to discussing anything within the next 7 minutes. If you got a question that's a legitimate question, I am more than happy to answer those questions over the next 7 minutes. So feel free to post away. Dylan's got a great question. He's asking about advertising, ad space. So yeah, so we can probably get that in. We can probably get a question in there. I mean, we could probably get that to happen. I think essentially for us, we're kind of looking at right now is we're gonna be changing what we do, Dylan. We're gonna be changing what we do, Dylan, a lot. So we're focusing on putting together some things that we can do in that space. I think ultimately right now, because what we want to do, Dylan, is we want to have a more concentrated way to give people a chance to submit ads and have those ads, truly reach the audience they're trying to reach. We've had a lot of success recently with some of our followers, like advertising companies who've approached us and so forth. So, we've had more subscribers, who have been involved. So we are certainly engaged with that. But as of right now, until we roll out this new concept we're putting out called Saturday AM Supporters Club, until we roll that out, we don't really have a chance to talk about advertising much. I'll check and see, Dylan, if we've got place in the next issue. I don't know if that makes a difference. I mean, if we can't get you next issue, maybe we can get you in the issue after that. Because again, any help helps, right? But as of right now, we do have plans for advertising. We're going to roll that out hopefully soon. But I just don't have anything I can talk about right now, right this second. Let's see. Angel Lewis says, "Can you refer me to any good gag manga?" Yeah, there's tons of Gintama. I think is probably my favorite. Sergeant Frog or Sergeant Kuroho is really good. There's lots of stuff. I don't know what type of gag manga you're looking for. Alex says, when do we plan to release information on our video game or release our video game? The plan is for the game to come out at the end of the year. It's really tough to make a video game, folks. I came from the video game industry. Marmot Media, our partners in this. I've known the CEO of that company for 15 years. He and I worked on some games like Blood Rain and stuff like that. So we're in good hands, but it still takes a long time, So all I can tell you is that, we hope to make it soon. So let's see here. I don't know who Sai Nana Hana is, but they're asking what you're doing to make yourself feel better. Dude, I'm taking, or dude or girl, I don't know what you are, but I'm taking I'm drinking some water to lubricate my throat. I'm taking some Chloraseptic to lubricate my throat. I'm about to take some NyQuil. But I feel as bad as I sound, probably. So any other questions I can answer? Got roughly 4 minutes. Well, while I'm waiting on questions, I'll just say again, I want to thank you guys for coming out. We are so, it's Jasmine. Okay. Hey, Jasmine. Oh, Jasmine. Well, just want to say thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you guys for supporting Saturday AM. We work extremely hard, and I am just, I said this earlier, last week. I'm so incredibly proud of my team. I love the folks that we've got in our group. Morgan Walker and Jay Oden, Raymond Brown, Andrea Voros, White Manga, Lukeman, Anthony, Jen. I mean, we've been so blessed and fortunate to work with so many amazing people that I'm stoked. I'm just so stoked to have a group like this. So I hope you guys will continue to support us, continue to check us out. If you see these creators doing stuff, please, send them a shout, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter or so forth, because they really are some amazing people, and they deserve to get more accolades. So I'll say that. Obviously, our issues are coming out. I want to give a shout out to Comic Draw from Plast. Check out that software if you're looking for digital software to make your comics. Check out Illo Sketchbooks. They're a great company making physical sketchbooks. And then check out 21 Draw if you're looking for really cool tutorials on how to create great comics or how to improve your artwork. So see a couple last questions here. We are working on animation, Javon. We've got some stuff with that. Hopefully we can announce by the end of the year. I don't know yet. But if you see folks talking about they're making an anime, never believe that. It is video games are hard. Anime is super hard. And when I tell you that we got a video game that we hope will come out this year, and you're talking to someone who's actually made video games, and we're partnered with someone who's made video games with me, and we're telling you that we hope to come out at the end of this year, that's all you need to know about how hard it is to make anime, because we know video games and we know how hard it is. Animation's infinitely harder than video games, and we're working on it. I expect us to announce something hopefully, soon, but I can't say. We have Oi says is asking, am I gay? And unfortunately, Oi, I'm not. But there's nothing wrong with being gay. We support gay creators and gay publishers and gay. In fact, some of our partners in the publishing space at the level that we're at publish a lot of great Sparkler Monthly. If you guys ever heard of them, they're really cool. They make LGBT content, and they're really good. And so if you guys are into that, you should check them out, because they're a great group of women making really cool content. Big Rare says, will there be a physical issue for 100? We have some. I don't want to answer that, so I'll just say no answer for that yet. White Hair Artist says, any updates on receiving premium rewards? White Hair Artist, yeah, we're working on some stuff with it. So I would say stay tuned. If you have any definitive questions, shoot me an email at info@saturday-am.com. We're working on some things. It's not going to be what we talked about, because we just, it was super expensive, and so it's just not something that we can do at the level that we're at. But we are working on some really cool things to do for supporters, and we'll be talking about this. We're going to be part of the Saturday AM Supporters Club, so trust me, we're going to try to give you something that will make you really excited, but just stay tuned, basically. Mutton Chop says, well, I feel better by tomorrow. Dude, I hope so, but I doubt it. Too Blind says, how do you feel about open world games, and are we going to do one? I don't want to talk about the video game right now. I can't talk about the video game right now. All I can say is that we're going to be releasing details about it soon. But but I do know open world games. I've worked on a few, or at least I've worked on some that were kind of open world. And I mean, I don't have a thought about it. I mean, they're different games. And my favorite games were Street Fighter and Command and Conquer and stuff like that. So FIFA, I mean, those are not open world games. So I don't think you have to do that. But I do like those games for sure. Jasmine asks, I'm not drinking honey tea, and says, what's my video game background? I graduated from UC Chapel Hill in 1996, and I got in with first I worked at an electronics boutique, which was a precursor to GameStop, and then I went to work at Rap Collins, which was the digital arm of DDB Needham. And I worked on the PlayStation accounts. We were part of the team that was part of that first wave of PlayStation titles like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, stuff like that. Then I went to work for a company called Gathering Developers, and that was a company that did really cool kind of bad boy games like Kiss Psycho Circus and 4x4 Evo and Max Payne before Take-Two bought us. So worked on a lot of games from there. I worked on an Ozzy Osbourne game once. Worked on a Playboy game. I was part of helping that get out. So, and some of these cases was more, on the kind of management distribution side. But so I've been involved in quite a few things with it. Now, we're doing something different. I'm producing this new game we got coming out with Saturday M. So, Spoon anime would be cool. Yes. Sergio says, being in the industry for so long, what's your biggest pet peeve? I mean, I don't have a pet peeve. I mean, I think people sometimes think that I get, look, I'm very blunt, but I'm an African American. My parents are very blunt. I'm an entrepreneur. I was in corporate America for a long time at some of the highest levels. So, to me, being blunt is just a way of life. I don't take it as being like a negative thing or a particular personality quirk. It's how things are done at the levels that I've been at in my career and my culture. So I don't have a pet peeve per se. I always think that, again, like I've said to White, like I said to a lot of our young creators, if I didn't care of people's success, then I wouldn't, attack you guys sometimes about the decisions that you make. I wouldn't do that if I didn't care about you being successful. So, I care. And ultimately then when I see questions that seem juvenile or I see people chasing things that are not important, then those are things that bother me. And I will always speak up about that. I don't like bullies. That's why we post Bully Eater. I don't like bullies. So when I see people who are bullies, whether it's people trying to come onto our page and acting foolish, or as people attacking some of our creators, I mean, I get, I've gone after people who've attacked White manga. White gets a lot of abuse sometimes, and I've gone after people with that, even though it has nothing to do with me per se, just because I know how hard White works, And look, I can criticize White all day long. I criticize Morgan. I criticize Jen. I criticize lots of my guys, but that's because I know how hard they work. But when I see people, trying to be a bully online, that bothers me, and I tend to speak up about it very directly to the people causing it. So that's all I can say on that front. Frey, I haven't gotten back to you. I apologize, but I will. I did get your note. Thank you. I think it's a really nice gesture. Patrick, you have to watch the video again, Patrick. We haven't announced the next round of Summer of Manga, but we will. So stay tuned. If you subscribe, Patrick, you'll get it first. If not, just have to pay attention to our website. We'll announce it after the subscribers get it. Javon says, yeah, I appreciate it, Javon. Appreciate it, Frey. Appreciate it, John. And Mutton Chop is right. It is really, really, really hard to make animation. In fact, folks, here's a little fact for you. To produce 30 minutes of animation that you see on TV, it costs $300,000. $300,000 on average. It can be a little less, it can be a little more, but that's roughly about $300,000. So when you see creators, some of our competitors and some other people, when you see people like you guys spouting off on social media about how they are going to make an anime, just keep that number in mind and ask yourself, who in the hell is giving them $300,000 for one 22-minute episode? And how many episodes do you think they're going to do? 10? 3? 100? If you're going to do 3, then why not just do a damn movie? $300,000. So again, I hope with this chat and with all the chats I do, I hope you guys recognize that, I don't BS around. I try to tell you guys straight what's happening. I know there are companies, some of our competitors, some of the big companies even, they know who we are. They probably don't like certain things I say and so forth, but they know I'm telling the truth. And with that being said, that's the reality. It's $300,000 per episode on average. China, as a country, produces a lot of stuff really cheap. So it's possible you can make the argument that China can maybe make an episode of anime that looks good for a little less. That's probably true. But even if it's less, let's say it's $200,000. Does anybody here have $200,000 for one episode of animation? So when Saturday M announces our stuff, like everything we do, and you guys know how I am, it will be innovative. It'll be unique. It'll be done in a way that makes it speak to the challenges that exist with animation for companies our size. It'll be something that will be successful for our creators. So there you go. So I did, yeah. In fact, I did not meet Ozzy Osbourne, but I did meet Hugh Hefner. I did hang out in the Playboy Mansion twice. So, all right, folks, that's all I got. I will talk to you guys later. We're going to do these once a month. So we'll do more of these. And any plans for Saturday FM? I don't know what FM is, but Saturday PM, yeah, we've got Saturday PM. We'll be announcing stuff for Saturday PM very soon. That's frankly, it's on me. I just haven't had time to dig into it the way that I wanted to. We probably should have launched it a little later, but we intend to make it right. We've always proven that we can. A lot of look. The reason some of these folks try to spin on radio, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do Saturday FM. But the fact that we try to do what we do, the fact that we succeed at the things we do, all I can say about that is that it's really hard, really, really, really hard. And so when you see us doing it, that we said it and we're going to do it. And it's not going to be easy. We're going to do it when we're sick. We're going to do it when we're hurting. We're going to do it when we're broke, but we're going to do it because, if we commit to it, we're going to do it. And so that's all I can tell you. And so, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. So everybody, thanks again. Thanks Morgan. Thanks Jen. Thanks Mutton Chop. Take care, everybody.